Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. Hang on. Alright. Hello? Hello? Is this working? Is this working? Hang on. Turn the volume up. Because I'm trying a very strange setup right now. I have this hooked up to a TV, but the audio is going through my computer because if I have it go through the TV speaker, it delays the video for some reason. So, the hope is that we can pick up a capture card at some point, so we can just play stuff on the actual, console. And as you can see, this is probably gonna pause every few seconds because XSplit has been getting really goofy. Have you ever played this game? Yes, I have. So at the same time, don't expect anything great here. I'm playing it emulated and I'm hooked up to a TV, so it's going to be delayed a little bit, and I'm not sure how that's going to end up. I'm just going to test a few games and felt like streaming. So, hi everybody, welcome. It's me, Mason. What was it? Korzaniewski? What was the name? Korzien? Something. It's me, Richard. It's me, Ian. It's me, Nelson. What were all the names people came up with? Anyways, it's me. Welcome to the stream. Me and my bald head and my blonde hair. We're gonna play a video game. So, oh wait, do I have a save file in here? Yeah, I do, I guess. It's weird. I'm not loading my save file. We're starting fresh.
That's what I expected from you.
Hoo-wee. So, this is God Hand. This is a very good game. It's up there as a favorite. This is not gonna work well. It's already slowing down on the cutscene. Oh no. Oh no. Oh well. But this is Gene. He's a goofball.
This place reeks.
I know. Wait, you don't expect me to mop up, do you?
Oh my god, it's pausing like every 2 seconds.
Okay.
This is bad.
Not to mention, much sexier than you.
Well, your sexy little friends.
You're little friend.
They're still sexier than you are.
Oh. Come on, Gene. Quit slowing down. Okay, so first things first. Also, I can tell this is running at a very low frame rate, so I'm probably not gonna play this very long. But if we get a capture device, I have it already, so I'll probably actually do a stream for it at one point. There it is, guard breaker. So, little pro tip. The way that God Hand works, if an enemy is blocking, if you hit them 3 times as they're blocked, you end up getting your attack broken and they get a free hit on you. Which, that's how it's supposed to work, but by dodging, you can actually cancel out of the stun animation. So usually what happens is you can actually be pretty safe about it. You can't typically counterattack enemies later on, but at the beginning some of them you can. So you can come out of that, but the reason I just mapped my third combo move to a guard break is because since it takes 3 hits when an enemy's blocking to have your own attack broken, I'm just making the third hit the guard break because that means I have safety. If the first 2 hits get blocked, the third one's going to break his guard, so It's a very safe way of playing it just by doing that, because manually having it is better, but manually having it also means you're going to have to get ready to cancel out of the animation for your guard break. And that's a beautiful frame rate. But do a little of that. Oh my god, the frame rate. Christ. Get him out of here. Whoop. I wasn't hoping for that to hit me. See, you can get him pretty much every time. Yeah, this is gonna just lag like crazy. I don't know if I can play this. But you head back here, and here's this goofball.
Bring it on.
Oh my god. I cannot play this. This is bad. I'm sorry, everybody. I was actually excited to play this. I was actually excited to play this. That's too bad. This guy's asleep. No! Not while I'm doing that. Okay. He's dead anyways. But that's... What I was doing there is... You have this kick animation, if the game wouldn't lag. If you hit X, you can kick, that's what it's mapped to by default. And when an enemy is kind of in like a dizzied state, you can kick them to launch them backwards. It doesn't really do anything if they're not like that. But launching enemies is important because a big part of this game is kind of picking fights carefully. You want to get them on you like one by one. So if there's mobs, you want to try to space them out. But knocking them away is really useful. And the other nice thing is if you hit an enemy into a wall, you can actually juggle them off the wall and do combos off the wall. And since you can cancel out animations by dodging like that, except when the frame rate drops, by doing that, it means you can be safe out of doing it, and you can actually chain this into itself repeatedly if you get them against a wall. So it's actually really useful doing that. You can just keep someone juggled against a wall until you pretty much kill them. They sometimes will eventually get out of it, but it doesn't necessarily matter much because you have them pinned anyways.
Time for a little fun.
And you can see in the bottom left, there's a level. Oh, that was bad. There's a difficulty level that goes up based on how well you're doing. So I'm at level 2 right now, which it goes up to level die, which is the hardest, which I'm probably going to be heading up to by the end of this area. Level die, if you play the game on hard mode, level die you're permanently locked into. And the level at the bottom, there's actually good and bad about it. Oh, I forgot there's these guys here. He's right behind me. Oh. What do you want? Oh, he got out of it. This is really hard to play like this. Okay. Also, word of advice, backflips, not good. They're not very good to do in this game. Because they leave you very, very vulnerable. So just get out. You can do that, too. If your back is faced to an enemy, sometimes they'll try to grab you. Which can be useful because you can bait enemies into doing that. And if you're aware of it, you can very easily counter them for it. It's also, by slamming an enemy behind you, it can hit enemies that are around you, which is helpful. I'm upset I took a hit. I forgot those guys. You're there. But you can taunt enemies too, so these guys trigger a little cutscene if I get up to them, but I can just taunt him to get him to come out individually. And taunting them gets them really angry, so they're going to be more offense driven. Oh, I actually forgot that comes down. Sometimes you can knock stuff down like that, and it can damage these enemies. Yeah, you're out of here. And there's usually actually a thing that appears right here. It's kind of random how it works. You can just walk around to make it appear sometimes. You can be fighting enemies and it appears. Or you can have really bad luck and it just doesn't appear, period, which seems to have happened this time, which is too bad. But like I was saying, getting enemies to just kind of come out one by one is the best way to fight them, and this opening area is really easy. All these guys are lightweights, they're easy to fight, they don't have too much to them. Most of their moves too, if I just stand here doing this, I can probably dodge anything they do. I think like 90% of the attacks in this game are high hitting moves, so you can just do that to most of them. You can see who's about to grab me there. This frame rate dropping is getting obnoxious though. I have to look into what I can do to improve this. Cause, yeah, okay, it might be time to stop playing this. I'm sorry, everybody. It's not a, it isn't a bad PC, it's an Alienware. Like, this isn't a bad PC, it's just, I think, one, I need to clean out the dust in it. Two, I think this is just really intensive right now running XSplit alongside an emulator like this. Because usually this runs perfect when I'm not doing XSplit. I think streaming this was a... Jesus Christ, you're gonna turn the laptop fan on over that? Okay, anyways. Oh my god! I'm getting angry how often this is happening now. It's like every 2 steps I take. I really wanted to play this. Alienwares aren't... Yeah. It started going on to me about custom-made PCs. I don't know. By the way, this is a fun little thing you can do, is seeing how long you can keep them bounced against a wall. Here's a demon. Demons appear once you're... Is it level 2 and above? Demons are pretty much the hardest enemies. They appear randomly. This is a very weak demon. Oh! He did circle prompt. That... You can see there how much damage that does. If you just want to play it safe, you can use your god hand to just fight him like this. I don't trust this game slowing down right now to fight him normally. Especially like that. Whereas a God Stomp is the strongest move you start with, so... Oh! Get out of here. But he's dead. That was bad. I usually don't have to do that, but I'm gonna play it safe. And you can see there, if you get hurt like that, it drops your level. This is just nightmarish to play with this frame rate. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll switch to a different game after this first area. Especially if it's gonna just lock up every 2 seconds. There's someone behind me. Where did you come from? But canceling the guard break move like that allows you to, Jesus. Okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm sorry. I can't play this. I was looking forward to this. I can't play it. It's too intensive. I'll switch to a different game. Sorry, everybody. So give me a sec. Let me shut this one off. That really sucks. Let me switch over here. I'm sorry, everybody. I really wanted to play that. when we get a capture device, I'll spend like a long time streaming God Hand at one point. I'll do a playthrough of it because I love it. I love it to death. It's one of my favorite games. It's really, really fun. It's also extremely difficult, which is why I like it so much. And not in the way where it's like, oh, Super Meat Boy is a really hard game because everything's pixel perfect jumps, and through trial and error and just tedious repetition, you'll eventually beat a level after 500 attempts. Not like that. It's not like that kind of difficulty. It's difficulty in the sense that you need actual skill to progress. You can't just memorize it because enemies will always fight you differently. Demons can appear at any point. You always need to be on your toes. You always need to be paying attention. You need to be thinking out how you're going to fight enemies. And just the response time you need for it. Whenever like quick time events pop up, for example, when a demon teleports behind you and you have the counter prompt on screen that you have to hit circle, it's like 25 frames, 30 frames. You get almost no time to respond to it. You have to just do it. Otherwise, you lose half your health. Almost everything kills you right away, too. You have barely any health. And if you're somebody who likes Dark Souls, for example, you appreciate how everything in that kind of kills you in 3 or 4 hits. God Hand is typically more brutal than that. God Hand, things can kill you in 2 hits. You don't have a block or anything either. You can only dodge. So it's on you to just get familiar with everything, respond to things, be smart about how you fight. You get to create your own moveset and everything too. It's just a really, really good game. And it's a shame it didn't get that good a reception when it came out. I think it's just because that's how it was designed. It was designed to be a game specifically for people who would get into it. And because of that, it means an outside audience is alienated and they're not going to get anything out of it. So it's also weird how, what did it say on the PlayStation Store? It said like, become the God Hand. You're a one man or a wrecking machine or something. Like it's describing it like you're some powerful god, because you're supposed to be in like the game story and everything, but you don't feel that way when you're playing it. Like you don't feel it necessarily like you have superpowers. You're on par with a lot of the people you're fighting. And that's something I really like about it too, is that you have about as much health as enemies do, usually less. You just feel like you're fighting people who are kind of in the same ballpark in terms of strength as you. So everything's always intimidating at all times, and it's just a lot of fun playing it. It's a really good game. I can't recommend it enough. It takes a little bit of time to getting used to the controls, but I wouldn't even say that long. It takes a little bit to get used to it. You pick up on it really, really quick. So if you've never played God Hand, I don't want to even compare it to Dark Souls because it really is its own thing. It's about the fighting. It's not as it's not at all like something like Dark Souls in terms of combat or anything. But if you're a fan of a game like that, if you like high stakes, one mistake kind of gets you killed. If you like that sort of thing, you would probably love God Hand because that's what it's all about, and you really get into it. You feel very on edge the whole time you're playing it, and you need to just concentrate. So I wanted to actually play it on Only Plays at one point, but I know if I play it, I'm probably not going to be talking too much. It's hard to make commentary while playing it. Anyways, let's switch to another game. What else could I play that's not going to crash my computer? Would that be less intense? It probably would still be intense. Oh, let me read donations. I've been missing them, by the way. Sorry. Let me read some of these. Thank you, Skipuku, for $3 and said, "Here's some chump change for your new capture card." Thank you, Skipuku. Thank you, Stee Scribbles, for $6 saying, "Here's some money to go towards your capture thing." Thank you, Stee Scribbles. Thank you, Professor Clockwork, for $5. And he said, "I wish you were the gay one so that you loved me back." You're not getting it towards you anyways. Showgaze donated $5 and said, "Hope you're well, dang dude. Thank you." Rick Horzinios, I still don't know how to even pronounce that one, donated $5 and said, "Be honest, that sock guy was right about your name." Okay. The reason I was actually acknowledging it, it's funny because if I say anything now, I've just kind of noticed that in general. But it worked to my favor, but it's also something I'm not going to convince people of otherwise. He was tweeting at me for a good month, and I only recently responded to it because after people were getting really mad about Ukulele trying to dig stuff up, he was, what was it? Someone even said it in one of the previous streams. There was a 4chan thread, and someone posted an image of like a bald guy and said that was a photo of me, and people believed it. And that sock guy tweeted it at me saying like, "This is you, right, Mason?" And at that point, it was just kind of like, okay, well, he's way off. Is this even worth caring about? So every time he had tweeted something at me, I just said, "Yeah, that's me, all right." And he kept doing it over and over and over again. He contacted other people. That's the one part I don't like, is that he's contacting other people now. I'm surprised Twitter has done absolutely nothing about that account, but everything he has there, I know where most of it came from. I don't actually know what that new photo is. I don't know who that one's weird to me. I'm wondering where he found it. I'm gonna guess like Facebook or something maybe, but I don't know where they found it or who it's supposed to be. I guess I could do an image search on it, but if they end up posting like photos of, like, if you know who are in the photos, you should probably say something, because on one end it's been fun just kind of, I don't know, goofing with that, but at the same time, I don't know who these people are getting posted, and I don't like that that's sort of a thing happening, that he's trying to invade the privacy of others now because it's such an obsessive thing. So if anyone recognizes anyone that pops up in a photo, just, you should probably say something. It's why I'm not responding after, what was the last one? Because people have said that in videos too. People always think Chris is name dropping me. I don't know where a lot of these, Richard makes sense to me because that was the Best Gamers PayPal account that I've been using here. So that was the name on it, and that one makes sense to me. I don't know where Mason came from exactly. Maybe he did a Facebook search. I don't know where Nelson came from. I don't know where was Ian, because I was in a video. Point is, it's going further and further and further off any real track here. So it's why yesterday I was just kind of humoring the whole thing. I'm really surprised the account is still there, but everything on it is also just out there anyways. Like Julian's photos on his Tumblr, he's never cared. He acknowledged it's his Tumblr and everything. It takes like 2 seconds to look it up. So anyone thinking that's like insider information, it really isn't. And anyone can find it. It's very, very easy to find. But I probably just needed to say something about all that since it was a big mess yesterday. The other mess is people. I don't know what's been up with the ukulele series. I was hoping in editing it was going to get cut down a lot shorter. I was hoping it was going to be like 6 parts because almost nothing happened. Because it's a game where you look around and explore. Not to mention, I was running on like 21 hours of being awake, so I was just exhausted playing it. But doesn't seem like anything got cut off of it, so it's just everything being left there, and people have been getting really, really bothered by it. And I understand it to a certain extent, but I also just want to say, like, keep in mind, it is like a blind playthrough. No one knows where anything in this game is, and also anyone who's saying, like, oh, they're skipping the dialogue, that's Game Grumps mentality. The dialogue in the game does not tell you where to go. The dialogue in the game gives you objectives if you want to get one of the pages. They don't lay out a map of where you're going or anything. That's why they have high points, at least, on the stage, so you can climb up there to kind of get a look of everything. There's no real landmarks to make it easier to move around. Banjo-Tooie kind of had that problem with areas just being wide open and hard to navigate. But Banjo-Tooie even had more structure to it. They had points on the stage that you could easily recognize. They had warp pads, too. You could just hop between different areas. And Ukulele doesn't really do any of that, so it's much harder to kind of figure out where you're going. And you can even see things like from the top of the mountain, like, oh, there's this whole area over there. But then you start walking to it, and you start getting lost because it's like, okay, what? I know it's in this direction, but everything just looks the same. Am I heading there properly? It's strange how they laid areas out in it. But, anyways, let me find another game to pop in. Oh, let me also finish reading these. Thanks, how do you... Korzen... Iaus... It's like, I guess like Korzieni Auski. What a name. Thank you for the $5. Thank you, Meech Nincy, like Nostalgia Critic. There's no class. Meech NC for $10. Saying, I'm poor, but fuck it, man. Here's 10 clams. Enjoy your capture card and keep doing what you do. Oh. Oh. Thank you, Meech. No class. The fact you fucking pronounce it like that is a dead giveaway. Oh. It's true, I have blonde hair. Look for me in public. I wish I had blonde hair. Julian thought I had blonde hair when he first met me. Or not when he first met me, when he first talked. He thought I had blonde hair. A lot of people think I'm obese too. I've been seeing that a lot. A lot of people think I'm fat. So I mean, that's part of why it's just been becoming entertaining. I don't think I've taken a photo of myself since... Oh my god. Let's go into that story. Nickelodeon released a really shitty PC camera game way back. What was it? It was awful, but I didn't have a digital camera, and that was my first digital camera, and that was like 1999 or something, I think. And I remember that was the only photo of me online was because I had an AOL hometown, and I took a photo of myself as a little baby boy and put it up on there. I think it was the last time I really took a photo and put it anywhere online. And that was so long ago. No, I think there was Game Boy camera pictures I posted somewhere, because there was software for that too. You could yank photos off your Game Boy camera. But I haven't taken one in probably like... It's so weird to think about that too. It's been almost 10 years since I've left high school. I don't think I've taken a photo of myself in probably 10 years at this point. So I would be interested if someone does find a photo, and even though I am saying everything getting posted as me, I will directly acknowledge if someone can find a photo of me. I will directly acknowledge it, and I was thinking of just posting it anyways at this point, because it really isn't a thing that matters. I've just been kind of humoring it at this point since it gets a lot of discussion. I mean, Julian has his out there already anyways. I don't like that people are trying to find her address, but it's because I didn't want to get stopped in person at all. But I may as well just post it with how obsessive people are being. What's going on out there? Oh, I forgot they're doing construction next door. There's a bunch of men yelling at each other. If I end up posting it, though, I'll just say this. You're all going to be very disappointed because it's not very interesting, so I'm sorry. But you can all believe what you want to believe. If you think any of those names are correct, by all means, please believe it. I would really if you think that I am a chubby bald man or a pimply blonde boy wearing I'm gonna guess that's like a graduation photo. That's why I feel bad. I hope that wasn't like a graduation photo of just some random teenager, because that would be really shitty if that got spread around. But that's what I imagine that is. But if that's how you think I look, then stick to it, I guess. But when we're done with Oni Play stuff anyways, I'll probably have that kind of thing out there. It's just because right now, with how obsessive and crazy everybody is, I don't necessarily want it out there because I don't feel like getting stopped. The last thing I'll say about all that is, it's funny to make a comment about how hiding your face makes you a spurg, but I'm pretty sure dedicating an entire account to trying to find photos of YouTubers, photos that they posted on their own and are already out there, and yet you're struggling to find them and are trying to like contact everything tied to it, even just going down like false trails and everything, all of that, just dedicating every hour of your day to that, I'm pretty sure that would be kind of spurgy a little bit. It's depressing it's all so far off. I would have figured there was more out there to make it easier to bridge a gap. It's also, you're not going to get anything out of the Best Gamers group because I feel bad to say that one too. I wasn't honest with anyone during that just because two of the guys from that group would just constantly, they would mess with each other. I remember the one contacted his landlord and got him in trouble with them, and they were going to evict him within a month. They do that. They would just pull pranks on each other with a million quotes around the word prank. And it's just like, okay, I really don't want to be a part of this. I don't want any of this influencing my life in some way. So I never actually shared information with anyone within that circle either. So anyone hoping to dig through there too, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm considering just posting it soon because it really is meaningless. But with how crazy people have gotten, I don't know. It's not a weapon really, but it might just be worth doing it to shut people up. It's weird. It really is weird. This has been a strange past year, and I don't know why people are as obsessive as they are about these things, but whatever. When will you be done with Oni Plays? I don't think we're gonna be done. And then someone in the chat will say, the way you said that means the opposite or something. I just have a monotone voice. I'm sorry if everything comes off as acting. But no, we're gonna stick to it. Like, as long as Chris wants to do stuff. I mean, we're all here. Part of me kind of wants to edit a little bit again, because Ukulele really disappointed me. Just because I wanted it to be cut down to like 6 episodes. I really wanted it to be a short series. Because a lot of that game is just wandering around if you don't know where everything is already. People say there's too many collectibles. I don't think there's enough. With how big the areas are, it feels like it takes forever to find anything. But, I don't know. We're gonna keep doing videos, though. It's not anything like that. It's, especially after that series, though, it's been frustrating. It's been very frustrating because I'd like to just kind of keep going in and playing stuff, but now I don't know if it's like the Game Grumps audience found its way in and everybody wants us to be Aaron or something, but it kind of comes off that way. Like, I saw someone saying that over and over again, like, read the dialogue, you idiots. Well, excuse me, but I was skimming the dialogue, and all of it is just puns and jokes, and they give you an objective to do, which we were doing in Yooka-Laylee. They don't give you instructions where to go on the map to find more objectives to do. That's not how these platformers ever worked. I'm sorry. I know saying read the dialogue is a very common thing that people shout out on their Let's Plays, but that wasn't actually the issue. But that's what it's sort of seeming like, is that that's bleeding into it now. I've noticed it on the Reddit even. Everyone's getting really bitter about things like that, so it's just video games. At the end of the day, it's just video games. I think we even fully acknowledged at the beginning, like, we're not gonna be good at this game. This is a blind playthrough. We're not familiar with it. But I don't know. With how nutty everybody's gotten this past week, it's been putting it a lot more into perspective, and it's been kind of draining the enjoyment from it. On the opposite end of things, though, I've been getting a lot of work done. I've been focusing a lot more on work because of that. We recorded a thing yesterday, but we actually lost a lot of it, which kind of stunk. But I'm trying to think of what else. There's like questions about anything. Yeah, that did happen. People got really mad that we said the designs in Yooka-Laylee looked really plain. That's what was making me think, like, is this just the Game Grumps audience coming in now? Because it was a lot of people not even listening to what we said either. It was people shorthanding it to the first thing that got said. And exaggerating it, because a lot of people were saying, like, the full episode was dedicated to that. It wasn't. It was like 4 minutes out of the episode. It was a conversation we didn't even really want to get too deep into, but Chris kept asking us, and it was like, okay, well, they didn't do much with the design. It doesn't stand out too much. It's very plain. It's not going to be memorable or iconic in any kind of way. With Banjo and Kazooie, like, Banjo has like a backpack, so Kazooie's in the backpack, and it feels like, okay, that's why they're a pairing, that's why they go together and everything. Then you have Yuka and Laylee, and it's just, here's a chameleon with a bat that's sitting on its head. It doesn't feel like any real thought went into it. It's just, how do we set up two characters that can do the same thing as Banjo and Kazooie, but not actually come up with a design that justifies copying that dynamic. It was why I said clothes, because at least that's something to make it pop out. It could have been fun too, because I've seen concepts that people have done. They drew Yuka like wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt, just a Hawaiian shirt, you idiot, not a t-shirt, but like a Hawaiian shirt. Or someone said you do unlock shorts at the end. That might do something. Julian posted that concept where he had like a little book bag, and he was wearing a bandana on his head because they have a crashed pirate ship at the beginning. So he was at least trying to come up with like a theme for it. The other issue is that he's a green character, and he is green and red, but the red is kind of brownish. So green and kind of brown, it just blends into a lot of the environments. It wasn't a very good choice. It's why you could get something out of at least putting clothes on them or something. So you have more there in terms of the design to make them pop out against the environments. But we were having a discussion about that, and a lot of people just kind of, I guess, skimmed over it or closed the video early. I don't know, but a lot of people were just saying like, "Oh, because they're not wearing clothes," and it's like, no, like we had to talk about it. We were really calm about it too, but that set people off. People were really mad, and that was when all this started. That was when everyone's been trying now to dig up as much information as they could on us, which is okay. I mean, Julian, like I said, has his Tumblr. He doesn't really care. It's why he's mentioned a lot of that stuff in the ukulele videos too. That was weird too. The second ukulele video, people thought like, oh, NeoGaf got to them, and now they're complimenting the game. We record these videos like a month in advance, a few weeks in advance, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's like, because Crash 1 we beat like 2 months ago, and only now is it being uploaded. But ukulele, we recorded that when it first came out, and it only started getting posted like a week later. We didn't go back and play it again as like a response. We don't do these videos in one day and post them. It was just what our experience with it was like. We were just saying things that we liked and things we didn't like, but I think I kind of learned from that now. I'm just going to cut back on that. I'm not going to really talk. I was actually going to not say really anything while playing it either, but Chris and Julian were pretty open to talk about it, so I kind of fell into that. I think I'm going to kind of hold off on that in the future, though, and I'm going to, if we're going to play a new game, I'm going to at least try to play it ahead of time, because people are just going to get frustrated otherwise if we don't know where everything is at the door. And if anyone's gonna say too, like, oh, don't tailor things back, I feel like that's not a bad thing to do though, especially because we don't really have much editing happening anymore. We don't really have cuts happening. If that's gonna happen, I may as well just play these games ahead of time and try to memorize them. So if we're gonna go in and play them, we can at least finish them quick. Because if you're not gonna have cuts, it's gonna be hard to sit through. It means we just have to play games that we're familiar with. Thank you, what was it? Kamira? There's 2 R's. Kamira? For $25? With best I can do in my current situation. Oh, thank you, Kami.
The way you read that, you're making it seem like that's you.
Oh. Thank you, Lems VGA, for $5, saying, is Trick or Treat coming on mobile platforms? Let's talk about that now, I guess, since I can't really play anything. Trick or Treat, I kind of feel bad that we put on the Patreon to begin with, because that game, I wanted it to just stand on its own. I don't think it's anything too special. It's just a little arcade shooter. It was going to be like $5 on Steam. We weren't going to charge much for it. It wasn't like a big project. It was just meant to make a little fun game, and whatever it made, we could put that towards supporting future games. But since we were not really making much anymore, it was going to be hard to support anything we were working on. We had to kind of do it, because it's like, okay, well, Bippy has nothing done yet. We only just started that. Like, the programming in that, it's like a month of work and that's it. It's just movement. That has a long way to go. So we had to kind of show Trick or Treat, because it's like, this one's almost done. We're going to have to show it. And I've been hearing a lot of that too. A lot of people say like, oh, this is just an Isaac clone. No, it plays like Smash TV. It doesn't play like Isaac. It's not little dungeons you walk through and you get random items, and it's all about randomization. It's just meant to be like a little arcade shooter. It's supposed to be really fast paced, lots of bullets on screen. Just kind of a little action game. That's all it was meant to be. But I'm kind of disappointed about that just because it's like, okay, well, now that we have that on there, everyone's gonna act, because I've seen that a lot too. People get really bitter about it because it's like, okay, well, oh, they say these things, but they're just making a shitty little Isaac game, and it's like, I mean, it's true, yeah, that is what we're doing. I hope it doesn't come off to people like this is our big focus right now, though, because it is what we're going to be putting out first, but it wasn't meant to be a big project. It was just meant to be a small little game, and we're not going to be charging much for it. Bippy's the one that we're going to be putting a lot of time into, and that's going to be a much, much larger project. And also, anyone thinking that it's just a game where you run and jump and climb ladders, I think the fact that it was a debug room with a grid pattern in the background and everything, hitboxes visible, that should be pretty obvious. We're not really anywhere with it right now. That whole thing is not indicative of anything that the game's going to be. So, I guess it says something if you're going to judge it based on that already. It says something about your end, but it's going to be more than that to anyone just thinking it's a basic platformer. But that was why we didn't really want to show anything for Trick or Treat or acknowledge that we were working on it or anything, because it's like, okay, this is so simple as a game. It's just a little arcade shooter. Even if there's a lot of visual polish and everything, it doesn't matter. It's an arcade shooter. Not to mention stuff like Isaac happened, Gungeon happened, all these games happened. You're not going to do anything that'll make people recognize that it's more based on like Smash TV. I mean, the HUD's even just based off like Metal Slug. Like, it's meant to be based off old arcade shooters, but people aren't going to pick up on that. They're gonna go along and just kind of compare it to what's recent and assume that of it too. It's not a random game. There's no randomization at all, in fact. It's just an action shooter. But, like I said, it's not meant to be a big project. I'm sorry if I'm letting anyone down by saying that, but it's why I kept insisting to. If you're not interested in what we're working on, please don't back the Patreon just because it's us. You shouldn't feel like you need to do that at all. Only back it if you legitimately feel invested in anything that we're doing. And I'm surprised as many people are backing it as they are, because I don't think what we've been posting so far is enough to really warrant anything. Often would you like to eat at Curry House? I know it sounds like a joke. I could probably eat there every other day. They have such a big menu, but with how expensive it is, we limit it to usually once or twice a month, and that's it. And we did go recently because they mailed me a thing saying we get 20% off on anything we ordered, which is very, very nice because they're expensive. But if there was a curry house that opened up near us, I would be going all the time. If I had money for it. You know what? I guess that's the thing. I don't have money for it, so in theory, if it was for free, I would go all the time. With how expensive it is, I would go probably only every other week or once a month, like we're already doing, because it's pricey. Also, if anyone's gone there, you should send them an email and say that we ended up recommending it, because we actually got an email from them asking, like, if they said somebody emailed them before and mentioned that in a video we brought up Curry House, and that was why they ended up going, and they were asking us, like, what video it was. I don't know what videos we've mentioned it in. Probably too many, but it seems like that was giving them like interest for some reason, so throwing that out there. What's coming out first, Bippy or Trigger Tree? Or Platform Masters? Oh, sorry. I have this on the TV, so I'm seeing two things bleed together. Platform Masters. Platform Masters is probably never coming out. I'd like it to. Bippy, we're thinking is going to be like a 2 to 3 year project because it's actually going to be a game, like it's going to be a big one. Trigger Treat's taken too long for what it is just because we made an awful mistake. It was originally designed to be a game that was going to be made in a single month, and it was going under the company I used to be working for. And that was the idea, was like, let's just shit a game out because they'll pay for it. But they ended up, despite how bad the company was doing at the time and how they had nothing under them anymore and they were close to bankruptcy, and it wouldn't cost them anything to publish it, they said they weren't confident in it. These were people who were also trying to prioritize DLC on day one and were announcing a game before anything was done for it. What a mess of a company. But I'm glad that happened because it means we own the rights to it now. We didn't have to throw any of that away. Probably would have been screwed over on royalties. But because of that, I decided, like, okay, can we delay it a year then? Because I don't want to push out a game that we shit out in a month and isn't very good. I'd like to polish it more. So we ended up delaying it a year. And, I mean, we're on year 2 now. We ended up having to push it back again because the whole situation happened with our roommates on the final month that we needed to really work on it. So because of that, it got pushed back again, and only now are people kind of aware of it because we put it on the Patreon. But it's been really difficult working on it just because over time you start recognizing more and more, like, oh god, we made this screen resolution too small. We're not going to be able to do good level design with this. Okay, now we have to up the screen resolution. Well, if you're going to do that, that means you have to clean up all the art now to fit the new screen resolution. Okay, you did that. But now this, and this don't feel right because it's a larger screen resolution, so now we have to reprogram all of it. Like, it keeps piling on, and just going back and trying to mess with a game that already was being rushed to be released in a month is a really bad idea. Like, you can read about the whole situation with Earthbound when Iwata got involved with it, because he was even telling them, like, listen, you guys put a lot of work into what you have right now, but if we were going to sit down and try to repair everything you had here, we'd be spending years to make this game. If we went back in, recoded all of it from scratch, we could have this game done in about 5 months. And it's very true. If you are programming a game and you don't have it structurally sound out the door, you're going to be going back and just probably redoing it eventually because of that. It's not worth trying to keep slapping things on top of it and then it all topples over and you have to keep putting band-aids everywhere. You really want something solid out the door, and because we were going to ship this out in a month, that was a huge mistake. It made everything so much slower thanks to us doing that. So bit by bit, bit by bit, we're trying to redo things so it works better. And it's just a basic arcade shooter. So it was very poor planning all around, but that's why it's taken as long as it has. Are you happy with how Trigger Tree is turning out? Not really. I'm not. Julian's been doing a great job with all the art. I don't know. I'm not very happy with it. I'm not, because it's on my end, I'm not really happy with it. With what I've been given in a lot of areas, it's kind of hard to work with, and then there's the whole idea of keep consistent color theming for certain elements. It's been difficult with just how much I want to kind of have done with it, but then how much of it just doesn't feel right when you apply it because of what the visual style is, what kind of game it is. Originally, this was a nice thing that at least came from it. Originally, we had to make it so your player sprite is he's layered, so there's a dithered layer of your character that goes through any object. So if something's obscuring you, you can still see yourself. And bullets are always prioritized, so if a bullet is being obscured by something, you can still see it. So by doing that, it means at no point are you just going to take a cheap hit from anything. You're always going to see everything at every point. Nothing can block your view. We don't have hitboxes like Isaac either, where it's like, oh, your entire sprite is your hitbox. We don't have that. It's centered on your body for bullets, so it's straightforward. But it still just feels really off to me. We're redoing movement now to have analog control. Originally it was just 8-directional movement because lazy, we were going to pump it out in a month. So I'm redoing that now, and hopefully that'll make it feel better. How big is the game in its current state? Not very big. The game is 5 levels, which it's like Smash TV, so there's all these different branching paths you can take between levels. There's all these different rooms. There's variety between all of them. So you can kind of play the game different each time. And then when you beat the game, you unlock a hard mode, which completely different levels. They don't even look the same. We have new tile sets. We have new enemies just for hard mode. New music. So it's kind of like you're playing 5 additional levels, even though they're based on the original areas. So technically 10 levels in the game, all with branching pathways and everything. And each level takes roughly, say, 7-10 minutes to finish, so you're gonna probably get like, it'd probably take longer. I'm saying that based on not taking a death or anything, because it's one hit death. I would say a playthrough would take probably like an hour to an hour and a half, and then with the hard mode, that's probably gonna give people much more playtime, just because with how difficult it can end up getting around the end. I'll probably keep people playing it for a little while. There's unlockable modes too. There's like a survival mode, which just endlessly throws you into room after room with enemies, and it's just to see kind of how long you can last, which isn't anything that special. We're trying to put like a little spin on it, so you get like a skill ranking off of it based on how you perform. So there's that. We have leaderboards, which no one will care about because it's leaderboards. We have a boss rush mode. There's some stuff we want to add in, like bonus modes, but we're probably not going to have the time for it. We'll see. But there's enough there that'll probably give people enough to do for a little while. Does Trigger Tree have any inspiration from Cannon Spike? Oh my god, remember Cannon Spike? Like I said, it's more along the lines of just Smash TV, and Total Carnage we're playing a lot of too. Weapons are kind of like Metal Slug. It's not like those two games, because Smash TV's weapons I didn't really like most of the time. And sometimes you just had to have them to hurt bosses, which I didn't like. They had the one where the shots would go into the air and then come back down, and that always felt really awkward to use. I never liked that gun. But every weapon we have, all of them are fun in their own way. They're all visually very flashy. They all have their own different uses, but all of them are good. Like, none of them, you don't go, oh, this one sucks, I wish I didn't pick this one up. Like how Metal Slug had the drop shot. The drop shot sucked. You never wanted it. We don't have anything like that. Every weapon has a use. But anyways, it's not going to be that special of a game. I'm sorry if people were thinking it was a big thing. It's not. It's going to be cheap when it comes out. It was just meant to be a little arcade shooter. And I feel like I just need to say that more often. People keep thinking this is like our big dream game or something, when it isn't. It was just meant to be set up to kind of move into things that we really wanted to do. Bippy is going to be like the big one we're going to be doing. Thank you, Sassy Poop, $5 for the donation. They said, take my money. Okay. Thank you, Sassy Poop. Sassy's Poop. Ding Dad says, thank for stoic video game wisdom. Hope you managed to capture off the capture card. I should probably check how much we have towards that, because I'm looking at the TV and I can't see it. How do you feel about the new Marvel vs. Capcom? Not very good. I didn't like 3 to begin with, because a lot of people were asking me that too. They're saying, like, what's wrong with 3? 3 for me, I felt was really disappointing, not just because character roster and everything, and also just how lopsided it was. A lot of characters in that game are just completely worthless. You're not going to get anything out of them. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has characters like that, but with how many there are and how the game is kind of structured in terms of its simplicity, you can get a lot out of them. Oh, they're being really noisy outside. All of it's like incidental too. Like, that game is really unpolished. Marvel 2 is not a spectacular game by any means in terms of polish. People look at it like it's the big one. It's the big boy of fighting games. They just kind of took old sprites they had, threw them into a 3D engine, simplified gameplay, so combos, you can just tap a couple buttons to whip them out, and just kind of set it up around that. They didn't really play test it too much. It has tons and tons and tons of glitches and bugs. Even the UI in it isn't very good looking. It's very rough, but it's such a fun game. It's really entertaining. It's a lot of fun. Really flashy just because of how they set it up. So even though it's not a game that they put a lot of time or thought into, it still just kind of ended up as... Because this is what I've said about Melee. I wouldn't say Melee I would take... Well, maybe... I don't know. Because I've heard people get mad at me too about that. They've said, like, oh, you think Smash is a real fighting game? No, I don't. I don't think it's... I like Melee, but I'd much rather play 2D fighting games over something like Melee. But what I've always said about Melee is it's kind of a happy accident. Everything in it that works as well as it does, most of that was not intentional. And that's part of why it ends up being a game that can be played the way it is. Because all of these mistakes kind of slip together and create a game where you can just move at light speed, zipping around and chaining things together, just going crazy with it all. And because of that, it ends up being like really interesting and entertaining to play. It's a lot of fun. But like I said, like, it was a happy accident. These were not things that were intended to happen, but they did good things for it. And Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has a lot of that, although at the same time, it also has everyone, for the most part, having an infinite combo, which I'm not really big on that. I know people love it just for the sake of showing off, but in terms of actually playing it, it's not so great. But anyways, point is, I can completely understand why people like Marvel 2. I had a lot of fun with it. 3 simplified it to a point that you weren't really getting that kind of magic anymore. You had a much less interesting character roster. It didn't look as good visually somehow, just because it's 3D models and everything. You don't have those 2D sprites that were really detailed anymore. Even if they're like reusing them from games that didn't make any sense, some of those sprites still look amazing. Especially new characters they added just for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It's in 3D, and technically, like, yes, it is more polished just from that perspective, but I don't really think it's more interesting to look at compared to something like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where you have really detailed artwork in the sprites, and you have so much chaos on screen by comparison. And then you have super moves in 3, which play out like little cutscenes, which I have not enjoyed that in any 3D fighting games. I don't like that Street Fighter 4 got that going. I don't really like that. I don't like that you have a single hitbox that when it connects with the opponent, it plays a cutscene. It just feels like a waste of time. It doesn't feel meaningful either. Because that's the other element to it, is if you whiff something like an Ultra Combo in Street Fighter 4, for example, it's a different animation. It plays out completely different and has its own unique hitboxes thanks to that. So like there's one way it plays out if it connects on the first frame, and then there's a second way that it plays out, which is more in line with traditional gameplay, and that's always really bizarre to me. I don't really care for the cutscene supers. I don't think it does anything to make them feel stronger or more incredible or something. I think the only time I ever cared for something like that was I liked in Third Strike when Ryu has the one where he jabs his fist into your chin and does the uppercut off of it, because that was brief. That's a very, very brief super move, and that's not even like a cutscene. That's still in like standard game engine and everything. But it's so satisfying, and it's so short, and it's so sweet. Like, it's perfect for that. It didn't need to be something lengthy. It gets the point across right away, and it feels really satisfying to pull it off. I don't care for a 5 to 10 second little cutscene. It doesn't do anything for me. And Marvel 3 has a lot of that added onto it over just the complete insanity that there was before. They stripped it down a lot more. It's already simple too. Marvel 2 is really, really simple. Marvel 3 managed to strip it back even further somehow. And then the X Factor, I don't like at all. I hate Capcom always slapping in some kind of comeback mechanic. And then the biggest issue for Marvel 3 with me is that the meta is so stale for it that people figured it out in almost a year. And as much as everyone was sitting down like, no, come on, let's make breakthroughs. We can do this. We can do something to make this game bigger. No one could figure anything out. It was just cut and dry. That's all there was to it. They couldn't really do anything with it. It was just too bare bones of a game. There wasn't enough there. Not to mention when Marvel 3 came out, they didn't even have basic features. There wasn't really a lobby system. You couldn't spectate games. It was a mess. It was a mess when it came out, and it was just playing off the excitement that here it is, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. They avoided putting a demo out for it for the longest time because, boy, if anyone could try this thing, they probably wouldn't be as interested in it. And then the roster was set up the way it was because it was meant to advertise both ends. Here's Marvel and all their properties that they're focusing on right now. That's why you get X-23. You care about that, right? And then here's Capcom. You get the new Bionic Commando. You care about that, right? It just ended up being really uninteresting in terms of choices thanks to that. And then you had people missing for whatever reason. Why was Venom not in it? Well, their excuse was that Venom transforms and that's too complicated. Okay, but Shuma Gorath is okay? You're going to tell me that's easier to animate? We can't have Nemesis in the game because that'd bump it up to an M rating. By the way, just kidding. Here he is in Ultimate and still T rated. Just lots of that too. Dishonesty. Ultimate fixed it up a little bit, but even then, it's also what I was saying about the metagame. Same thing. There's only so much they could do. And they kind of worsened it here and there, because then you had like Virgil slapped in there, who is, I swear to God, one of the safest characters to play as in a fighting game because he has so many options on approaching somebody. It's ridiculous. If he can't attempt to grab somebody, it's okay. Here's all these different things he can do to prevent anything from harming him for going in for something like that. It's crazy. But the question was Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Based off a lot of comparisons people have made too, I think it's working off the same engine as 3. It looks almost identical in a lot of ways. There's similar animations on characters who are returning, and by similar I mean exactly the same camera work and some of their super moves. It's looking like it's just 3 with some stuff added on top of it. and somehow looking less impressive visually. Even though I didn't really like how 3 looked, I liked the idea of trying to sort of stylize it. They had the outlines on everyone. They had the darkest shades on characters would just be pure black to make them kind of pop out more like their comic art. And that actually didn't look too bad. I hate the music in 3 though, and I'm worried about that too with Infinite. People hate Marvel vs. Capcom 2 soundtrack, but I actually really like it a lot. I really, really like it. I know most people say, well, why the hell is there jazz music in this? Well, that was kind of the point. It wasn't meant to be a game to be taken seriously. It was just meant to be a crazy crossover, and it's just goofy and over the top. I don't get any hint of seriousness out of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I don't care about whatever promotional art they started doing for it when they brought it to Xbox Live Arcade, and they had the gritty, serious drawing of the Incredible Hulk about to kill Mega Man in front of a happy clown face in the background. It's not meant to be a serious game in terms of tone. It's meant to just be kind of a crazy crossover. So I was completely fine with that soundtrack for it. I think it was very fitting, and there's a lot of good music in there. But Marvel vs. Capcom 1 had some great themes, and the sound font they used helped even more. That game is wonderful in terms of soundtrack. That's one of the finest that Capcom's had in a fighting game. So to hear those themes come back and just get kind of butchered with a really plain, like, electronic dance sound to it, it was not very pleasing to see that happen. But Infinite just doesn't look very interesting to me. It looks like it's going to be kind of 3 with a couple of things tossed on top of it. Now we have the Infinity Stones, or what are they referred to now? Is that what it is? Is it Infinity? I'm sorry, I'm not a big comic guy. I forget what they were. They were didn't they change the name for the movies now? What are they? Is it Time Stones? Point is, they have that in there, and I could see that going either way. I don't see that being a very fun addition. I'm nervous now that it's going to be like a gem situation, like Street Fighter Cross Tekken. That was a horrible idea. I know it was in Marvel Superheroes had that fighting game had that whole system with the gems that you could activate. But even there, I didn't really like it much as an idea. That game plays really well. I just didn't like it being kind of slapped in there. But I feel like it's going to be even worse in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It just looks like kind of a more plain version of 3. Like, it just doesn't look very interesting to me. And what makes it worse to me is that Capcom is so confident in it that last time when they introduced the DLC to Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it was at the end. It was at the very, very end where they're like, okay, the game's about to come out. By the way, there's going to be DLC on day 1, 2 characters, which was upsetting. I was not happy about that. Everyone found out they're on the disc too, although they were unfinished on the disc. The point is, day 1 DLC, that's not good. And people used to make a bigger deal about that too. I guess we got over that. Isn't that weird? Street Fighter Cross Tekken, everyone made fun of the fact that they had all this on-disc DLC out the door, that they're just planning on all this nonsense. Not to mention that they had characters specific to the PS3 version who exist in the Xbox 360 version too. People were making fun of that, but for some reason, announcing like 8 different DLC characters out the door before really showing anything of this game, and we have a deluxe edition, we have a collector's edition, we have all this stuff you can throw money at, but we're not going to really show too much of the game. Big emphasis on a story mode now. It doesn't seem like they're going to be prioritizing time very effectively on this game to do much with it. It seems like they just really don't care. They're happy they got the license back. They're just going to kind of pump something out again. They're probably more excited than ever because it's like, Marvel's huge now. These movies have been doing so incredible. They're through Disney and everything now too. This is gonna save us probably, because Capcom's not been in a good spot either. Street Fighter V didn't do very well, especially in the States. Oh my god, Pokken even outsold it over here. But it's kind of warranted just because Street Fighter V didn't have enough. And not in terms of like, oh, it didn't have an arcade mode, are you going to cry about that? No, that's not my issue. My issue is that if you're going to have it so you can grind for in-game currency to unlock things in it, you should have more options than just survival mode. You should have an actual arcade mode or do more with that. An arcade mode's not even that difficult to do. You could have had all these different modes. They had trials and everything in Street Fighter 4, which is nice. They had so many different things that really made it better than it really was. Because Street Fighter 4 I wasn't even big on. I didn't really like Street Fighter 4 much at all. I felt like it was a big downgrade. Much rather play Alpha. Much rather play Third Strike. But Street Fighter 5, it was just barren. There wasn't really anything there. And even though I like some of the character playstyles in it a lot, Fang I fucking love. Like, that easily has become one of my favorite Street Fighter characters now, just because it's such a non-conventional fighting style for a Street Fighter game. I like Gray Damage. I think that's actually a really good idea. I think it's about time that chip damage could actually sort of be dealt through normals, but not be true chip damage. I'm completely fine with that. I think that's an okay idea. I mean, they were doing stuff with some of the characters to make them interesting, but it just wasn't enough. There's not enough there. And it feels... Because this is what happened when the new Guilty Gear came out. Is like, okay, we have this. It looks great. It's a step up, I guess. But we don't have a big character roster. It's also not as in-depth as something like Accent Core Plus R was. Why make the jump yet? You don't have everything here yet. And now they're doing more and more and more, and they're finally catching up. I think they've surpassed Accent Core with characters now. And as much as people complain like they don't like the additional time added on for input buffers, they don't like yellow roaming canceling, they don't like how it got simplified a little bit, I think it's still so close to the original Guilty Gear gameplay that it doesn't impact it that much. It is simpler to play, but at the same time, I don't mind a lot of the changes too much. And I'd much rather play that than most of the stuff that's come out now, because it's still so true to what they had before. It's not to the extent of shaving off half of the buttons on the controller to dumb it down. It's not adding a comeback mechanic or anything like that, although Danger Time is fucking stupid. I don't think anyone ever liked that as an idea. I remember anyone discussing the game in competitive setting, everyone says how much they hate it because it's random, and they just go, okay, great. Now we're just going to go turtle in the corner and wait for this to run out because it's so ridiculous what it ends up doing for you. And even then, that's not a comeback mechanic. It could be used as one, but it's not really a comeback mechanic. It's when you clash that sometimes the damage just gets increased. So it could go either way. But that's usually what happens, is people kind of ease off when that happens. But it's so close to how it already played that I don't mind it. I actually really like the idea of yellow roaming cancels. I think that's a really, really good idea. I am perfectly fine with that because now it lets you do so many different things. You can fake people out. And since there's a little bit of slow motion when you start a roaming cancel now, it means you could yellow Roman to potentially dodge a move that was coming out slow if you anticipated it and get a counterattack in. I'm completely fine with that. I think that's actually a pretty cool mechanic. I like yellow Romans. I think it's a good idea. So I think that's a good example of a recent fighting game actually doing a pretty solid job, fundamentally. I just don't really... Street Fighter V didn't do enough. It just doesn't stand out much. Even visually, it doesn't... In some regards, I'll even say it's a downgrade. Because believe me, I do not like the visual style of Street Fighter 4. But at least they were attempting some kind of style. Street Fighter 5 doesn't have, anything, really. Everyone looks like they're made out of clay, and that's kind of it. There's no real look to it. I don't even... Who's the one guy with the long hair? I don't even remember what the name of the guy with the long hair, the new character in Street Fighter V is. To be fair, they're kind of doing. They did that with Street Fighter 4. They introduced new characters who just didn't stand out. Remember Abel? Remember him? He wore blue. That was him. That's it. That's the character. El Fuerte could have actually been a really interesting character. I like his animations a lot. I think it's a fun concept, but they did nothing with it, and they stayed true to that throughout every iteration of it. They never did anything to help him out as a character. And that always annoys me when they do that too, when they introduce a character and just decide in their mind, you know what? We're not going to let him ever have anything viable. We're not going to let him be a character that anyone's ever going to pick. And that never makes any sense to me. Like, oh, it's a dedicated joke character. At least with Dan, I guess I can kind of understand that. Except what's funny about that is Dan is supposed to be a dedicated joke character, and in Alpha 3, you can still do a ton of shit with Dan because of how well that game was set up. You can still go crazy with Dan in that game if you know what you're doing. Dan, in Street Fighter 4, the original Street Fighter 4, he was higher up in tier than Sakura was. They really didn't know how they were balancing these games out. And then when they introduced Yin and Yang, that was the biggest mess. They didn't even try there. They just made completely broken characters. They had to release an additional patch just because of that. But even then with Street Fighter 3, you had Sean, who was supposed to be a joke character, and guess what? Second Impact, he's the fucking best character in the game. And he's a lot of fun to use. He's really, really fun to play as in Second Impact. He's amazing. And then they just... they made him pretty worthless in Third Strike, didn't they? And it's too bad. I actually really like him in Second Impact. He's a lot of fun. I don't mind the idea of that. If it's a joke character, you can still make them fun to play as. You can still make them actually work really well. Just because they're a joke doesn't mean they have to suck. I guess that's meant to be the joke, but having like just goofy animations in general, they can still be a goofy character, but still be fun to use and have some purpose, and having time set aside to add this character into the game, as opposed to, hey, we took a few months out to put this in the game, and there's no point to it, and no one's ever going to use it. And that's a lot of Street Fighter 4's roster. No one's going to use El Fuerte ever because he's never been good. And it's too bad because he could be good. He could be really fun, but they just never did anything with him. I fucking love Hakan. That's one of the few characters. There were so few new characters in Street Fighter 4 I actually liked. And Hakan was wonderful. He was a great new character. He was really interesting. He was a lot of fun. They came up with a really great idea for him. I'm sad they didn't use his trailer music because the music in the trailer for him sounded great, and it's not in the actual game, which is too bad. But still, he's a really great character, and no, they just never touched him. They decided, no, we're not going to do anything to make him good because, haha, he's funny, man. We're not going to ever really make him that good, which is really disappointing. Was El Fuerte strong for a while? Because each iteration I played, he was never really up there. Because I played the first one, I played Super. I think I missed Arcade Edition. I played one of the final editions of it, where he wasn't really anywhere. Was he good in Arcade Edition? Because that's the one that I didn't end up playing. He wasn't good in Super either. Okay, I'm at least happy to know they balanced it out more in Ultra then. Because when you have a roster that big, you should be kind of attempting that with it. Oh my god, fucking remember Sagat in the original Street Fighter 4? That was fun. Makoto, for some reason, one of the best characters in Third Strike reduced to complete garbage in her introduction. Dudley was alright. That's weird to me too, is that Dudley at least was able to work. I guess it's because she couldn't do a lot of what she could do in Third Strike that made her so good. Which is too bad, because I like Makoto. But everyone likes Jury. I don't actually really like her too much. I don't think she's too interesting. It's that her playstyle just doesn't stand out too much to me. Crimson Viper is a weird one for me because at the same time, I feel like I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite. I know most people say she's really, really boring. I actually kind of like her a little bit. Only because she reminds me of a King of Fighters design, I guess. And I like how she plays. In the original Street Fighter 4, she was probably one of the most interesting characters to play as, just because as tame as most character playstyles were in that, outside of Gan, who no one was going to be using anyways because he's too complicated switching between styles, she was actually really fun. She had a super jump. She could cancel her specials to fake people out. High risk reward. She was actually a lot of fun to play with. I liked using her. But I can understand why people don't think she's interesting, because her character design isn't... Also, like I was saying, it just kind of reads as a King of Fighters design. It reads as them looking at King of Fighters and going, okay, let's make something kind of like this. That's what they did with Remy. Remy's just supposed to be Third Strike's Iori. That's all he's supposed to be. They even had to put a little symbol on his chest. Because Iori's got one on his back. Are you more of a King of Fighters guy than Street Fighter? No. I think I would rather play King of Fighters 98 over playing Street Fighter 4 easily. Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 2. I'd rather play 98. Might be a toss-up between Alpha, like Alpha 3 and KOF 98. I think I might say KOF 98 over Alpha 3. But I would much rather play Third Strike over KOF 98. But that probably doesn't make me a very good Street Fighter fan, because I know the Street Fighter fan base absolutely hates Third Strike because the argument is parrying destroyed everything. Oh no, I can't zone anymore because of parrying, except you still can throw Hadokens and you still can get kind of the effect of it. It's just that you have to put a little more into it now. You have to sometimes do EX special versions of it to throw people off if you're going to have a pattern going. And yeah, it's not as easy as that anymore. It's like if Street Fighter added more movement options, yeah, it'd be harder to zone, and that's not really a bad thing. Fighting games can have zoning while also having options to get around it. It's that Street Fighter was always very limited in terms of responses that you could have to something like that. A shining example of that, remember Street Fighter 5 when they were doing testing and Chun-Li did her V-trigger and she could just spam fireballs to the point that it was filling the screen and it was impossible to do anything to get around them because you can't jump between them. You can't... If you block, you're just going to be positioned backwards more. That was just them not thinking, and they at least fixed it. But that kind of thing, if it was in a lot of other fighting games, you'd have much more that you could do as a response to it. King of Fighters, you have a dodge roll, or you can dodge in place. You have all these different kinds of movement options because you can run, so you can do a running jump. You have short jumps. You have super jumps. You have all these different ways that you can move around, and they're all very precise too. It's not like Guilty Gear where you can make up your mind while you're in the air, like, okay, I want to air dash now, or you know what, I changed my mind, I'm gonna double jump backwards. Not even like that. You have to decide what kind of jump you want to do at the beginning of your jump. Am I going to be doing a really long jump? Am I going to do a really short one? You have to make those decisions on the spot. But I think that's a good balance. I think that's a good compromise there. And it works fine in King of Fighters. Characters still can be prioritized around the idea of... Fucking look at Lucky from KOF 98. He was rock bottom in the original 98, and then when they did the new versions of it, he's moved his way up to almost... I think he is top tier in it now, isn't he? He was supposed to be a Joe character too, and oops, he moved his way up because SNK doesn't care about that kind of idea that this is a joke character, so they're going to just be a joke. They didn't care about that. They buffed him, they made him better, they made him fun to use, and he's really fun. I like him a lot. He's always been one of my favorite characters, and I'm glad they did that too because the USA team, all of them have really interesting playstyles, and the fact that they went out of their way to buff them, even though they're supposed to exist as jokes, I'm happy with that. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they're actually going through and doing that. They're trying to make their entire roster viable, and I like that. I'm glad they're doing that. And that's the thing, is like King of Fighters has all these different options for movement, and you can still have characters dedicated to zoning like that. It's just that Street Fighter is so limited in terms of responses you can have to things like that. The people don't like when an option's introduced, like parrying, because, oh no, now it's not as simple anymore. Now there's a more emphasis on the fighting. And what's funny too is if you didn't have Ryu and Ken and Chun-Li put into that game, you wouldn't be seeing too many attempts at something like zoning anyways. I don't like that those characters are in there in Third Strike. They were put in because testing audiences hated the fact that Street Fighter 3 did not have characters from Street Fighter 2, so it disgusted a lot of people and made them just want to go play Alpha. So, okay, fine, we have to satisfy them, put Ryu and Ken in. And even after 3 iterations, they don't feel like they belong. They play so different. Everyone has a much more complex fighting style in Street Fighter 3. Everyone has so much more to them in terms of how they work. And then here's the safe characters who function in a very straightforward manner. And fucking Chun-Li, what were they thinking? People also seem to underestimate how parrying works too, because they think like, oh, well, parrying is just, if you're good at the game, you always get to do it. No. And also the parrying window is not where you think it is. A lot of people who see people who are good at it and lose to people doing it, they assume, okay, so because they have better reflexes they have better reflexes than me, that means that they can just parry everything I do because they're watching and seeing the start of my animation so they can always read it. That's not how parrying works. Parrying requires you to actually tap forward ahead of time. It's a very specific window that after you tap forward, there's a few frames, then the parry window activates, then it goes away after a couple of frames. So it's very specific how it works. It's not as easy as tap forward the second something connects with you. That's how people describe it, but it's actually not that. So it means if something's going very, very quick, you can't actually read it visually and parry it sometimes. You need to be doing it ahead of time and be anticipating the attack. And if it's something like a super move that comes out in one frame, you can't parry it the second it comes out. You have to be parrying in advance. If someone's going to be doing a super that connects with you on frame 1, you have to be hitting forward before they do it. So it doesn't just negate everything because, oh, they have good reflexes so they can just see everything I'm doing. It means they actually are anticipating what you're doing most of the time, unless you're playing as an unfortunate low-tier character where all of their attack animations are too slow. That is the one thing that doesn't work about parrying. But I don't really mind the idea of it, and it's very, very satisfying when you pull it off. I feel like they could do something with it to add on to it and make it more interesting, and make it more balanced out than how it ended up being, but I don't hate it. I'm fine with it. The reason the Street Fighter scene also hates Third Strike so much, It's not just because they fall back on that and say, oh, it destroyed zoning, and it destroyed all these, because it didn't really. It did destroy zoning a little bit, but it's not completely dead, and on top of that, I don't mind that anyways. I like that there's an emphasis on fighting. If you're going to go and play Street Fighter 2 in a tournament, you're going to be picking Sagat and going in a corner and just shooting tigers until the time limit runs out, typically. That's always been kind of Street Fighter, and that's usually why I'm not as interested in a lot of Street Fighter games. But that's what I liked about Third Strike, is that there's a lot more of an emphasis. There's an emphasis on fighting, and that's what I care about in a fighting game. I want that. And parrying, I don't think is a perfect system. It's flawed for sure, but it's also really satisfying, and I do enjoy it. It's just that Third Strike is a more technical game in general. It has a certain feel to it, the weight of the characters and everything, just how it plays, the speed it runs at, everything about it, the fact that parrying is there, universal overheads, all these ideas, everything in there. It doesn't play like any of the other Street Fighter games because of that, and there's kind of more going into it when you're playing it, and it just turns a lot of people away from it because of that. But that's why I like it. I like those things that it does, and I'm upset that other Street Fighter games don't do a lot of those things that it does. But that's why I'd probably rather play something like King of Fighters 98 over most Street Fighter games, but I would much rather play Third Strike than any King of Fighters game. I thought it was funny too when I made that tweet, when I was joking and saying that I care a lot about story in fighting games. People thought I was serious about it. I could not care less. In fact, any game I could think of that tried to put a lot of emphasis on the story, it just kind of ended up being really embarrassing. Blaze Blue, oh my god. Blaze Blue is a train wreck if you try to follow that. Mortal Kombat was selling over here kind of just for the story mode even. A lot of people just cared about it because of the story mode, but it's not an interesting story. It's not really that interesting. And then on top of that, I would not want to play it because it's Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat's gameplay has always been very, very sluggish. It just doesn't feel good, the control, because of how movement is handled. Then you have a lot of characters with special moves that are things like, teleporting to the other side of the screen and getting behind you, things like that. Just moves that typically are very safe, unless... That's the other element to it, too. Blocking doesn't work like how blocking works in other games. You could fucking block string someone with just doing your normal punches in Mortal Kombat 9. You do your normal punches, you run up to them, you do it again, and they're stuck in their block stun animation, and you can just do that until they're knocked out. It doesn't even feel like it's a safe thing to really rely on a lot of the time, just because it can set you up for disaster by doing it. I do think it's like an okay game now, at least. I think they've done a lot to improve on it, but I would never want to sit down and really play it. And anyone who says like they're in a position that they're saying like, oh no, it's way better than these other fighting games, I think he might be a little bit delusional. I'm sorry. that probably sounds really mean, but I'm sorry. I don't. It's taking concepts from other games that use them much better. Like they introduced a lot of new mechanics to Mortal Kombat 9 and then MK10 and everything, but other games have done it better. Other games are more balanced. Other games think a lot more in terms of how they play. It's because Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat. It's a name that's recognized for that. It's a brand that's recognized as that. It's ingrained within Western culture over here. It's the Western fighting game. It's The violence really is the biggest part of it too. It's that people feel like they're playing something that's really intense because of that, which is weird because the original games were very, very corny with their humor and everything. Like they yucked it up all the time. It's not a game that was really serious with itself, as much as people held it up as if it was. Go back and play Mortal Kombat 3 and just look at a lot of the things in it. It's very, very goofy half the time. It's hard to take it seriously. It does act like it has a serious plot on top of it, but with how much is in there? Are you kidding me? And that's the fun of it. That was what I really liked about the old Mortal Kombat games, is I really like how hammed up they are. Makes them really fun to play. They started stripping that back more and more and more, and while there's a little bit of that still in MK9, MK10, it's not enough to make it interesting. Especially just digitized actors and everything. It made it feel a lot funnier. Fucking look at Stryker from Mortal Kombat 3. He just looks like someone's uncle dressing up, putting a baseball cap on backwards. His idle animation is him rubbing his tummy. But I mean, that really was the appeal of the series, was just the violence. It wasn't the gameplay. It was never the gameplay. The gameplay was a mess in most of the games. It's never been the appeal. It's been the violence. It's been the fatalities. That's the whole point. And that's what's funny too, is Mortal Kombat 9 and 10 tournaments, they actually don't let people do the fatalities sometimes because it eats up too much time. That's why people are playing these games to begin with. Turning that off and trying to treat it like it's more than that, that's really bizarre to me. At least it's not Injustice. Injustice I can't defend in any way at all. Injustice is a fucking disaster as a game. It's probably very exciting because it's a superhero fighting game and you can interact with the backdrops and there's a lot going on and everything, but oh my god, if you're gonna try to take that one seriously, I am so sorry. That was one of the few games I can remember at EVO when people were just bored in the crowd and booing at points because of how boring it is and how easy it is to abuse that game. Also, NetherRealm logic, two projectiles colliding, they don't destroy each other, they go through each other. So, if you want to talk about a game that has some issues with zoning, let's talk about Injustice and the fact that they have characters like a Green Arrow or a fucking Green Lantern just pulling out the minigun over and over again because of how safe it is. You do not have to think to play that game most of the time. If you're distanced in that game, you can just get fucked because of that, unless you're playing a character who actually has some kind of option to respond to it. It's a fucking joke seeing people trying to take that one seriously. It's a joke that EVO is adding that in over and over again. People don't want Injustice. If you're going to have a NetherRealm game, have Mortal Kombat. At least that's trying harder to be competitive. It's a mixed bag, but at least it can kind of work. Don't put Injustice in there. People don't want Injustice. But that's why they put it in there. Get a little bit of that money under the table. Promote that new game. We just got word from the Big N. They're not happy that we're doing Melee again. Said that not only do we have to have Smash 4, we also need to have Pokken Tournament for them to agree to this. No, we'll pretend it has a scene. We'll pretend that this was a game that everyone was demanding. I mean, that's why ARMS is in there now, right? That's why that won the popular pick, right? If anyone believes that EVO is not just working directly with developers and taking money to have these games in there, I'm so sorry you actually believe that. It's very obvious that that's what's been happening for years and years on end. Especially now. That's the whole point. It used to be just whatever was kind of competitive at the time. I mean, they were playing Third Strike for the longest time until Street Fighter 4 finally rolled around, and that was depressing too. Finally seeing Third Strike get bumped off of Evo, that felt crushing to see it go. And that was the idea with Capcom after Street Fighter 4 was, okay, well, we have a competitive scene. We can force these people to just go and buy the newest version of the game. Oh, they're still playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2? Okay, we'll make a 3. And they'll have to go and buy it. So everything got replaced with newer titles, even if they're not as competitively viable, just because. And that's why you end up with Injustice. It's the new NetherRealm game. Okay, I guess we gotta put it in there. But that's fighting games. Someone said, "What's your favorite like current fighting game?" I mean, I was just saying Guilty Gear. If you're gonna take like actual, really recent, Guilty Gear's actually been doing a pretty good job because it's so close to how it already was playing before. It still keeps a lot of the speed. Every character really stands out. Smart decisions with gameplay and balance too that I'm kind of sad no other fighting game really learned from. Their method of scaling for damage and everything too. Just the idea that there's no really true infinite combos in Guilty Gear. Not to mention they don't get too long either. Guilty Gear combos usually get up to they go. Because that's also misleading too. People will be like, oh, it was a 20-hit combo. Does that mean it's long? You have to keep in mind just combo length, you probably want to measure it in terms of length, as in time that goes by as you're performing it, as opposed to how many hits it was. Because there could be attack animations that get like 8 hits and just a couple frames, things like that. But Guilty Gear combos typically go by in like, a long one is probably 6 seconds tops. They go by really, really quick. Guilty Gear combos typically aren't that long. That's probably wrong. Not 6 seconds. I'd probably say a little bit more than that. 8, 10 seconds probably when they get really, really long. Because I haven't actually seen some of the exploits in the new version. But I remember playing Accent Core, and even if you're fighting a Baiken who's kicking you against the wall and getting 20 hits off of you, even that was pretty brief. People who knew what they were doing, combos didn't go for too long. And you have options on Wake Up and everything. You have invincibility frames on Wake Up, so you can pop a reversal off. You have a burst. Burst is such a fucking good idea. It's they really were thinking of how they could try to make some steps forward for fighting games, but anime fighters, whatever, no. All bad decisions because it's not Street Fighter. Now let me go back to playing 5, which didn't really do anything to take this series forward in any way. Guilty Gear has a lot of good ideas, and I've been enjoying it a lot. The recent iterations have been pretty close to where it sort of left off. It's still simpler, but I don't mind some of the decisions and the ways that it's simpler. It's not a thing that most people are even going to pick up on. Oh no, the input buffer window got increased by 2 frames. Yeah, no one's going to notice that. I'm sorry. That's very minuscule. I don't mind that too much either, because 1 frame links, while they are very technical, and I understand that, I don't necessarily mind adding at least a tiny bit of a buffer window so it can become a 2 frame window as opposed to a 1 frame window. I can't actually say anything about the new King of Fighters. I only got to play it for a little bit. I'd like to play it more. I loved 13 though. I actually thought 13 was really good, and I'm kind of sad that it didn't. They fucking bumped it off before the new KOF came out. They actually bumped off 13 at Evo, even though some of the most exciting moments that came from Evo before, like, there was Guilty Gear again and everything, when it was just the the kind of because he had Blaze Blue instead, which is not very interesting. Then they had Persona Arena for some reason. None of that was too interesting. The biggest moments you were typically going to get out of Evo were coming from King of Fighters, and it was a shame to see that get bumped off. King of Fighters 13 only had, was it 2 or 3 years there, and then it just went away. That was it. They bumped it off for something else, and it's like, really? It's King of Fighters. You're gonna rub out one of these series for something else? It was shocking to me to see that happen, but 13 was a lot of fun. I really liked 13. It's a really, really nice looking game too. It was fun. It played well. It had some cool ideas for mechanics in it. I could kind of go either way on the HD meter, but overall, I think it was still a pretty solid game, and it was kind of going back to what I remembered about older King of Fighters titles. So that was that made me happy to see. It was good for that. We don't talk about 12, but 13 was actually pretty good, and I would have said that was probably one of my favorite recent fighting games until Guilty Gear came in. But I'm glad both of those series have been trying to kind of stick to what has worked for them in the past and just keep fighting gameplay about the fighting and focusing on it in an old kind of mindset as opposed to how do we make this more welcoming and inviting, which 14 seems to kind of be doing. King of Fighters 14, they have the whole thing that if you keep tapping the one button, it performs a combo for you and ends it in a super move, and I don't know how I feel about that one. Not sure how I feel about that one. But I have to play 14 more. I haven't played it enough, so I'm not going to be unfair with it and say anything based off the little I experienced. Yeah, SNK went under a few times. This is twice now or 3 times? They went, the first one, which was the most crushing, was in 2000, because that was when they were at one of their highest points too, and they went under. Then I feel like there was a third one that had happened. I know it happened recent. It might have only been 2 times. I want to say 3 times. I don't know why, but there's the recent one that happened that they ended up switching who is in control of SNK. So now they're just SNK again. It's not SNK Play more. They said they're going to step out of focus on like mobile games and everything and go back to just making games. Although KOF 14 did so poorly that I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. They're being so generous too. They're adding free characters onto it and everything. They're being really, really generous about it. It really stinks if that is just kind of going to be it again. Was it 2001 when it officially went through? I remember it being the end of 2000 was when they were filing for it. That's funny to me if it really was 2001 that they went under, because I thought it was the very end of 2000 they went under. If it's 2001, that means they really did just shut out KOF 2001, because that game is... Oof, that game is something. And I like the Neo Geo. I'm sure people hate the fact that I trip over my words so much when I'm live streaming. I have trouble trying to read a chat while talking. Neo Geo Pocket Color I really liked a lot. I was glad I got one when I was younger. I love the clicky stick on it. It feels very, very satisfying to play games with that. Especially because it makes fighting games on that system work. Fighting games feel good on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I don't think you could do that with any other handheld console. They feel great on there. I just love that little stick in general. Oh my god. It was really nice that they did that. SNK released the Neo Geo CD controller as USB. It's compatible with the PS3. They did that as a promotional event. They were very limited, but I ended up getting one, and I was so happy I got one because it feels great to play games with that. Having the clicky stick again, if I'm gonna play a fighting game on a gamepad, that would be the gamepad I would use. It feels so good to play games with that thing. I don't know how much they went up in money though. I remember I got like $40. I got it for $40, but I saw people charging $120 for it at the time. But I can only imagine how expensive those go now. I'd love to have a second one. No, I know KOF 2001 wasn't made by SNK. That was when they got taken over. That's why I'm surprised that was the point that it happened. Was it really 2001? Like, whoever's typing that in the chat, can you tell me the exact date? Because I always swore it was the end of 2000. Like, late 2000, that was when they were filing for bankruptcy. And then they got taken over the next year. Because if that really was it, that they got taken over in the year 2001, that means when who even was it? Because they became SNK Playmore, but they had different names on some of their games. I swear, I talked about this in a previous stream. Metal Slug 4, what was it? It's like Megacorp is the name on it or something, and it just sounds like an evil business that took it over. October of 2001, huh? That's surprising. But Metal Slug 4 was pretty lousy. King of Fighters 2001 is horrid. King of Fighters 2001, what a mess. It's too bad because I actually kind of like the Nests saga. And they just shit out an ending really quick. It was bad. Yeah, Mega Corporation. Okay, that's what I thought it was. What a name. It was 2002 when Vanessa... No, Vanessa was in 2000. 2008... It got a lot of flack because it has the striker system, which I don't like. I do not like the striker system in any King of Fighters game, but I wish there was a ROM hack that removed the striker system because I actually like a lot about King of Fighters 2000. I think if it didn't have strikers, it probably could be a game that a lot of people would be pretty interested in. They had some fun ideas in there, and it was very, very polished. Really good soundtrack. It was 4 character teams now too, so it was a big roster. They introduced a lot of cool new characters into there. I really like a lot about 2000. Oh, it's Mega Enterprise, okay. What type of arcade sticks do you like playing on? I wish I had an arcade stick right now. I haven't used one in a few years. I just haven't even gotten to play fighting games too much in recent years. I guess I should start getting into that again because now that we're in California, I mean, we went to a local arcade that wasn't too far off, and oh my god, it was amazing. They had Tatsunoko. They had fucking Tatsunoko on an arcade cabinet there. That was amazing. And I had like 4 different setups for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and there were all these people crowded around just playing it late at night. I would like to get back into playing fighting games again. It's been a long time since I've really been playing them actively. Round 1 even had a really good selection of fighting games. I was surprised by that. They had King of Fighters 98 just sitting there in the corner. They had Third Strike. They had Guilty Gear. They had everything. Just any fighting game that people would care about right now, they had them all hooked up. It was pretty crazy seeing that. I'm kind of disappointed that Julian doesn't want to go to arcades like that, though. Julian wants to go to arcades that have older games, which I don't blame him for that. But it means that we can't go to places like Round 1 because it's like, here's what Japanese arcades are focused on right now. Rhythm games and fighting games, which, beautiful. Those are two of my favorite genres, but that's me. And that's, neither one's really going to interest Julian, so not really a place we're going to be going to often. Marvel Infinite seems to be like it's just Tatsunoko 2. You sure about that? From what I was watching, it just looks like it's Marvel 3 again, with some tweaks made to it. It doesn't look like it's Tatsunoko. I'd be happy if it's like Tatsunoko. Maybe there's more footage I just didn't watch yet. But it just looked like it's Marvel 3 again. If it's more like Tatsunoko, I would be all over that, because Tatsunoko, to me, is the last Versus series game. Tatsunoko was fucking great, and it's too bad it was on the Wii. That was the only thing really holding it back. It's a shame, too. That license did not go for long. They did one game? That was it? Well, you could technically say two because they re-released it in America for whatever reason and added new characters onto it and took one off because we can't have a fat genie over here. Oh, is Infinite 6-button again? Because that would already make me a lot happier. If it's 6-button again, I am relieved. Because the gameplay footage I saw of it and people making comparisons that animations and everything were just being recycled from 3. Not to mention the announcer and everything that I was seeing, it just looked like it's 3's engine again. It had me worried it's just 3's gameplay again. If they actually upped it to 6 buttons, that would make me pretty happy. That's already a good step in the right direction. I read something about 4 action buttons, and then there's the automatic combo if you just mash the light attack. Automatic combo like how it worked in 2, or automatic combo like it rolls through all of your attack strengths for you and then does a super move. I hope it's not that one. I hope it's just like how it worked in 2. Oh, fuck! Marble Blast! I forgot! We wanted to play Marble Blast. Marble Blast was really fun. I actually liked that game a lot. It was one of the first Xbox Live Arcade games, and I remember... It didn't originate there. It was on the PC before. People were always playing it in like school and everything. But when it got ported to Xbox Live Arcade, I remember I was playing that all the time. I fucking love Marble Blast. It was really, really fun. I don't think you can get it anymore. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I hope I'm wrong. I'd like to get it again. I would really like to play that at some point. Ow. According to Maximilian, it's light punch, hard punch, light kick, hard kick, gem, tag. Can you turn that off? Can you turn that off? I remember they had that in Marvel vs. Capcom 1 where you had beginner mode that you could turn on. Can I turn that off so I don't do an automatic combo? That doesn't sound good. I don't like that. I kind of am getting sick of fighting games throwing that in. That's not doing anything to really help it. All that's satisfying is people coming in who are mouth breathers so they can just pound one button over and over again. And even then, button mashers are not going to pound one button over and over again. They're going to hit everything, so they're not going to get the automatic combo anyways. What do you think of the old Guilty Gear games? I mean, it's a weird question because Guilty Gear is the kind of series where it's hard to really say, like, oh yeah, you need to go back and play the whole series or something. Because people could say that about, like, Street Fighter, like, oh, Street Fighter 2 is very different from Alpha. Alpha is very different from Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter 3 is very different from Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 4 is very different from 5. People could say that about that. Guilty Gear, you don't really get that from it. It changed with X, and when X2 came out, I mean, even X to X2 wasn't that dramatic of a shift. It was just them kind of adding more mechanics onto it and balancing it more and adding additional features, like with characters and everything. That's kind of it. It's just you kind of seeing a timeline of them balancing and here and there adding a new feature or two. So if you're going to talk about all the Guilty Gear games, it feels a little bit pointless just because that's kind of all there is to say to it. X is a less refined version of X2. Vanilla X2 is less refined compared to Reload. Reload's less refined compared to something like Slash. Like, that's all it kind of is. It's just a timeline of that. The original Guilty Gear on PS1, though, does stand out because that played a lot different. And it's actually kind of weird playing it again a while back. I kind of like a lot about it because the window for the game kind of freezing when you land an attack, it's very small. And everything in it moves way quicker than later games did. And I sort of like that a lot about it. I do like how fast everything in the first Guilty Gear is. It was meant to show that off. It was meant to be a game exclusively for the PlayStation to show off, like, hey, you can do a fighting game, a 2D fighting game on the PlayStation 1 and have it run well and play well. And they did a great job with that. It plays great. It runs really well. But it's not as well thought out as later games, and I'd just say it's kind of an alright fighting game. It's not great. It's very unbalanced. And I don't like how the instant kill system works because unlike later games where you're probably not going to ever land one in later games, but you can set up for them. If you can dizzy an opponent just as you go into that, you can probably actually get an instant kill. It's just not very likely. It's not very likely you're ever going to pull it off. But how it worked in the original Guilty Gear, it was just a normal attack animation. Like, it wasn't a super move where everything pauses like, oh, you're about to do something. You just start the animation for it and let it out. And it looks like a normal attack, too. It doesn't look special typically when you're doing it. So instant kills landed almost all the time in the original. They were just way too good. And then on top of that, if you landed an instant kill, that was it. You didn't have to do any more rounds. You killed the opponent, it's over. So it was kind of ridiculous how it worked. What are games you want to play that Julian and Chris don't want to play? God Hand I really want to play. Chris and Julian do not want to play it. Mischief Makers I want to play a lot. I don't think Chris wants to play it. Stretch Panic I wanted to play. Chris didn't really want to play it. There's a lot. There are a lot of games that I know we're just never going to play because Chris will not be interested. I think it's kind of funny that people pin me as the negative one, that I'm the one who hates every single game. I'm guessing it's because my voice is monotone. That happened even with ukulele, though. People were telling me, like, oh, you're being the hardest on it. I was the only one who wanted to play it. I'm the only one who really likes Banjo-Kazooie. Julian even said he thought it looked really boring. I'm the one who likes Banjo-Kazooie, and I was the one who wanted to play ukulele. And I was the one even vouching for it before playing it a little bit, just because I didn't like that people were going back and saying, oh, Banjo-Kazooie was bad all along. That has nothing to do with ukulele being bad. Also, ukulele It's not great. It gets very frustrating after the first level, and even then the first level's not that great either in terms of design, but it plays well. It has very good controls. It's a half and half game. Half of it is actually pretty well done. Half of it is a mess. I can tell they rushed it out. It's too bad. I would have liked them to have polished it up more. But I don't think it's Jim Sterling's 2 out of 10 as he gave it. But I was being pretty positive about it, and people were saying I was the only one being negative, which is weird to me. I don't know if that's people mixing up voices or what, but I think it's just because I have a really monotone voice. Everyone assumes I hate everything, when usually I'm the one who wants to play the most games, and I am the one who ends up having to be the one playing the games. I typically want to play a lot. We just don't really get to. I was so sad that we didn't get to do more Donkey Kong Country 2. Chris did not want to go for 100%, and then we lost the save file, so it was like, okay, oh, we're not playing that again. I was just like, oh, alright. God Hand is the biggest one for me right now. I really do want to play it, but I know it'll be a mistake for multiple reasons. One, people will get mad if I die a single time, and to avoid dying, that means I would just not be talking. So I'm going to have to figure something out to make that work. I'm not going to do something like a Kick Me Sign challenge either. I don't think I've ever been able to pull something off like that. Because if you're going to go through a level not even taking damage in God Hand, you're probably going to have to use the God Hand at least once. So Kick Me Sign challenge is probably just a lot of you kick an opponent, run away, try to run around to just space everyone out so you can get another hit on somebody, run away, run around in circles to try to... It seems like it would just be a nightmare trying to pull that off because you're really limiting yourself by doing that. I'd be interested in maybe doing it at some point. That seems like it'd be really hard. I'd like to do God Hand though. I just know that there's going to be a ton of pressure because people who like God Hand will not want to see a single mistake being made, and I don't think I'm amazing at God Hand by any stretch at all. I like it a lot. I can play through it just fine, but I know I probably am going to have, especially around the end, I know I'm going to be getting mistakes, especially if I'm trying to talk while playing it. I'd like to do that though. Hi Julian.
How's it going?
I can't play anything
Why?
because it runs so slow. I can't play
We
anything.
need to get a capture device
I
so that
know.
you can just run it from the PlayStation.
That's what I'm hoping to do. Julian, what are games you want to play that you don't think anyone will let us do?
Katamari, Pikmin, Rayman. He's never gonna let us play Rayman.
Probably not. I'd like to play Rayman. I like to play Katamari.
What else? What would he want? Or not want? All the rhythm games. I wanted to play Parappa. Remember?
Okay, to be fair,
Space Chase.
to be
Space
fair,
Channel.
when we went in and I suggested Guitaru Man, you sided up and said, no, we can't do it.
Well, I changed my mind.
Okay.
I finished the radio play for the animation. I think it's going to be really funny.
Oh, Ape Escape would be fun. I forgot about Ape Escape.
Why would you escape from an ape?
Because the ape is... I can't think of a rhyme.
Is he an ableist?
What does that mean?
That he's... I don't know.
That he enables apes?
Yeah.
He took an aptitude test. Okay, get out of here.
Bye.
Oh. What kind of donuts did you get?
I got the chocolate one and I got a glazed one.
Are you gonna eat them like that? Like a sandwich?
No.
No. You guys should be doing your own thing. No, no. I was thinking of maybe doing stuff like videos on my own, but no. After everything, absolutely not. I am not going to do that. With how all of this has been, I am not gonna ever. I think this has done an amazing job making me not want to ever do videos again. Seeing just what comes from it, how attitudes are and everything, I do not want to do this again. I'm fine with doing stuff with Chris, but I would not want to do stuff solo. I especially would not want to do an analysis piece. People are already trying to turn this into Game Grumps and treat us like we're Aaron or something. I'm not going to do that. I was interested at one point, but I'm not anymore. This last week in specific did a great job killing any hanging motivation to do something like that. I am absolutely 100% not going to do solo content now. So, I'm sorry. I kind of hate it too because it's gotten to a point that early on everyone was at least recognizing whenever I was saying stuff. It's like, oh, he's trying to be transparent about things. He's telling anyone what's going wrong. But now if I ever do that, people get on my case about it if I'm just trying to like say what's been up, because people will say like, don't, oh, are you responding to the comments again? And it's like, no, I'm just saying what's actually going on. A while back, this was completely unrelated. This was actually because I heard from a friend. He was complaining about a video that he had watched. It was someone playing a game, and he was saying like something about it. What channel was it? He watched something though, and it was a Let's Play he sent me, which I didn't really care for it. I don't typically care for Let's Plays, but I don't actually think it was that bad. I think it was just whatever. The jokes that they were telling weren't really funny, but because it's people with like nasally voices and everything, it was something I couldn't really watch, but he was complaining about it because he said like, they really need to work on this because they're laughing at each other. And I was like, okay. He said, yeah, well, if they're gonna laugh, they need to laugh the right way, because this is not good laughter that they're sharing, because this laughter is getting in the way and is ruining the timing of the joke, and they need to have proper laughter for comedic impact. And I was just thinking to myself, like, what the fuck are you talking about? What is proper laughter? There's a right way to laugh? I'm pretty sure laughter is just a natural thing that happens. I don't think there's a right way to laugh. So it was really weird hearing that. And I remember I just made a passing like tweet about it, because I was talking to him about it and everything, and he had a discussion with me about it. And he didn't mind that I tweeted about it either, but everyone thought that was a response to a comment section when it wasn't. It was actually just because I was having a discussion with a friend, so I ended up saying something because we had to talk about it. And that's what happens all the time now. I guess it's because we've hit that point that now the following is large enough that people are reading too heavily into everything and thinking that everything is drama when it isn't. People fill in the drama on their own. There's usually nothing really going on. But if I say anything like that now, people assume it's a response to the comment section, even if it isn't. Even if it's just me, because that happened too. I was saying, like, I think the next time we play a new game, I'm going to play it ahead of time to kind of get familiar with it. That was just me. That wasn't even really a response to anything. That's just me now, because if we're not going to have editing, if we're not going to have things really trimmed down, I may as well play things ahead of time so we don't waste time when playing it. Because I'd be frustrated by that. I didn't think Yooka-Laylee was going to be like We played it for 2 hours. I think there's 16 videos or something. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to get trimmed down to like 6 episodes. So if that's going to happen, it's like, okay, no, it can't work this way anymore. I'm going to have to play these ahead of time. I need to know where things are. We're going to have to actually be able to play through the video game. And that's why Resident Evil 7 is going to be scary if that gets picked up again, because when I was editing it, we cut it down so sharply. I remember the last 3 videos of Resident Evil 7 were trimmed from about an hour in length each to just 10 minutes. I was cutting them down really, really hard because there was a lot of wandering that Chris was doing. We didn't know where anything was because it was our first playthrough. And we were recording that at the beginning too when the game came out. So it's not like we had an option to read around or anything either. But I know now if that series goes up, it's going to be probably like 50 more episodes, and it's just going to be miserable to watch. And I am dreading if that happens. Because I would have at least cut it down. I hope that doesn't happen with that series. But Yooka-Laylee was miserable because of that. It wasn't really cut down. And because it wasn't really cut down, it means that I'm just going to have to do that. I'm going to have to practice ahead of time with new games. We can't just go in with a fresh mind. It's not as easy as that. People don't really want that anyways. But people thought that was a response to the comment section when I said, I think I'm going to practice these games ahead of time. It's because I talked to Chris just a little bit before. And I just thought to myself, like, you know what? It might just be worth doing that. Especially now. But everyone said, no! Don't respond to the comments, quit being a baby. And there were people saying like, oh, do what you want to do. And it's like, this is what I want to do. That's why I said it. I don't like this happening anymore because I wanted to be open and upfront with people about things. I want to have it all out there. It's why I'm even doing a stream like this. I'm even talking about this kind of thing. It's why I'm answering questions and everything too. I just want to have things out there for the most part. Outside of our address, I don't want that out there. I'll even post my photo in like a week or two, though, because even though humoring that has been drawing a lot of attention and everything, which I'm sure like other YouTubers would be like, yes, it's great, that's good publicity, we got all these views now. I don't even, I don't like that other people are being targeted within it, so I'll probably just put all that out there soon. Especially if people think that that's like a weapon. Julian's photos have existed forever. That's not a weapon if he put them out there to begin with. I remember one of the guys from the Best Gamers group has still been like making tweets and everything, trying to pick fights again. And I don't know why. He was trying to fight with Rockhawk a while back. He ended up, what was it? The Best Gamers account had a tweet made out on it, just making fun of the Patreon me and Julian did, comparing it to Brianna Wu and everything. I thought it was funny. I thought it was fine. I think I just combined those two words together by accident. But like 4 months later, he ended up responding to it because someone said like, who makes these tweets anyways? And he just responded saying, not me, that's for sure. And it's like, what is that? What kind of response is that? He's been popping in again, trying to start fights, and he showed up in streams before doing the same thing. So I may as well just put everything out there anyways, because none of this matters, and he doesn't have any of my personal information anyways, but I just don't like the idea of that either, where people think that they have all of this, like this is juicy dirt that, I had one of his old account names. I can even say now what some of my old accounts were. Let's think. What were some old ones? There was one that I had on Newgrounds, which was it? I think it was Yoshi Man 11, 12, something like that. Because that was when I was like 10. I remember I made one. I used a bunch of Nintendo forums. I used... I was trying to think. I actually recognize a lot of artists from back then too. Because there was Sonic Fan Games HQ, I remember. And even though I wasn't a big Sonic person, I remember I never registered there, but I did lurk on there very often because that was me trying to figure out how to make games at the time anyways. There was a Mario fan game site too that I did the same thing on. I lurked on there a lot and would download like tutorials they had on stuff, which all of that is not worth even looking at anymore. Those tutorials are terrible. That was when people were working with very limited software. What is it with you and pot-bellied lizard characters? Is that a thing with me? Are you just talking about the one? Are you talking about the one post I made? Listen, that's one example, okay? That's one time. That's one time. It's not a constant running theme. I'm trying to think though what else there was. I think I've mentioned a lot of this before though. When I was 9 and I found, I don't know if you pronounce it Grawl Online or Grail Online, but I remember finding that game and I would go on servers all the time and I would beg to be admins on servers. I'm so fucking embarrassed by that. I said before I didn't know what faggot meant. I thought that was like an animal or something when someone called me one because I was 9 and I didn't know anything. But I remember going on a server and they had tryouts to become an admin on the server. And I remember they had like all these exercises and everything. And they're like, okay, what is a thing you would do in this situation if this person was doing this? So they were like doing all of that and they were running people through it, and they would eliminate people one by one. What a weird process for just having an admin on a shitty server for a Zelda clone. But I remember I was at the end of all of that and there were 3 people left and the guy ended up picking someone else over me. And I remember I threw a fucking tantrum because I was a 9-year-old playing the Zelda game and I was so sad that I didn't get to be an admin on a server. And I remember I was sad all day. I was in a really bad mood all day. And I stayed up all night because I was so sad that I didn't get to be an admin on the Zelda Online server. God. This is why children shouldn't use the fucking internet, by the way. Why is everyone saying, what is this monster? I made that tweet like a week ago, people. Come on. That's been out there already. We did the stupid threads a while back. Anyways, God, that happened. I remember I used to use AOL chat rooms, and I would talk about... I remember doing it a lot when Paper Mario was about to come out. I remember I was on there all the time, and people were making things up, and I would believe it. There were all those fake... Remember the Pokegods? Does anyone remember that? That there were god Pokemon hidden in the cartridge all along? Check your donations, you fool. What? Oh my god. Okay, I'll cut myself off. Oh my god. Scabadoodle donated $200. Oh my god. Scabadoodle. Holy guacamole. Scabadoodle? I don't know what it is. Oh my god. Thank you. 200. Jesus. Okay. We can get the capture device now. Oh my god. Scabadoodle. I'm sorry I missed it. I didn't see it. I'm so sorry. Oh my god. Now I feel really shitty. I forgot that I was trying to catch up with all these too. It said, I have to thank you. I had a full overdose of sleeping pills in my hand ready to take them and fucking end it, but then the notification came up that you were streaming. Just your voice was enough. Please stop never doing you. Oh my god. You didn't have to do that. I thank you. Holy guacamole, thank you. You're a good man. Or woman. Oh my god. Well, thanks to that, we'll be streaming more often, so not only does that mean a lot to hear, but I'll try to stream a lot more now since you ended up donating that much. Holy guacamole. We can get a capture device now. Oh my god. Is it Scabadoodle or Scabadoodle? I'm sorry. You didn't have to do that. Oh my god. Thank you so much. $200. Gee. I mean McButt, $100. Stop it. Stop it. I mean McDuff, Hillary McDuff says $100. The good times keep rolling. You sent us Fat Albert. You didn't have to do the 100. Come on. Scabadoodle, you didn't have to do the 200. Come on. Artificial ignorance, you didn't have to do 40. Artificial ignorance, why'd you... What are you people doing? Come on. Don't do this. Thank you, Artificial Ignorance, for 40. I'm sorry, I missed all of these messages until now. Mr. Rumdum, $7, saying, funny admin Mooney. Thank you, Rumdum. I'm sorry I missed all of these. Now I feel bad. Butch Cat, $50. Jesus Christ, you people. Go get the curry. Chicken katsu, right? I get the deluxe chicken katsu because they wrap the rice up in egg and put mushroom in there. But that's not gonna go towards curry. We're gonna be saving that for things that. Thank you though. Holy cow, Butch Cat, I mean McButt for 100, Scabadoodle 200. You people. The Moister Oyster, $50. To my brawny, unyielding, and strapping video game lad, may your future forever glorious. Question: what are your thoughts on websites where you print your work to things? Shrimps. I said shrimps. Shirts, mugs, clocks for profit. And what site would you recommend? I actually don't know for that one. I remember Cafe Press sure was hot way back, but it's not good. Is it Zazzle that I'm thinking of? People use that for shirts a lot. If you're actually if the idea that you have in mind is to print merchandise you intend to sell, you actually would probably just want to talk to a printing press company or something, because buying shirts in bulk, while it seems pricey that you're going to be spending like $100 for so many shirts, you also have them in bulk. You're spending so little on each one, and because of that, it means that you would end up getting... You have to order in advance. You need to know how many you would need, how many you'd want to sell. But buying things in bulk like that, actually going through a printing company, that's your best bet if you're really going to be selling merchandise, and you'd have to do some research on that. I actually don't know what to suggest there, so I'm sorry. McKay... But thank you, the Moister Oyster, for $50. And you have a very good name. Thank you, Michaela Eats Spaghetti, $5. Remember on Twitter when I asked you who your first crush was and you replied with "you're looking at it"? Well, I was actually looking in the mirror. Oh, I was looking at a stupid fat cartoon frog. I'm sorry. But thank you for the $5. Scroke donated $5 saying, I think your intentions for Trick or Treat are great. Arcade shooters like that aren't meant to have long playthroughs. Some people just want a game where they can run and shoot things for a few minutes. And will do great with Halloween release. I'm not even concerned about sales with it now, honestly. I'm just concerned if it'll be fun, if people will enjoy it. Because it's such a small game, I'm hoping it'll be enjoyable. That's my worry. Brackens donate $10. Brackens, you don't have to do that anymore, Brackens. You helped so much in the past. Are there any game programming books or other resources that you recommend? I can safely say I have never used a book in my entire life to pick up on this sort of thing. If you want to get into game development, you just kind of need to get into it. It's like a lot of people saying, what's the easiest way to get into animation? You get into it. You start kind of doing it. So if you're gonna try to program games, I would just recommend getting beginner software or something, because Back then, that would be a horrible recommendation. I don't think it's harmful as a recommendation anymore, especially because people I even know who, yes, they can do C#, they can do C++, they can do all of this. Even they will fall back on just using software sometimes if it's quicker. So if you're doing an independent game project, there's no real harm in using something like GameMaker, or if you're going to step up even higher, Unity, there's no harm in that. If you're doing a project by yourself, you're going to save a lot of trouble. You're still going to pick up on useful information. You'll start to figure out how programming kind of works, how logic is structured and everything. Math will come a lot quicker to you when you get into programming. Things that probably made no sense to you before, you are going to pick up on immediately, because I remember that too. That was, I think it's because I just wasn't turning in assignments when I was in high school, but I remember I actually had the worst grades in my math class, despite the fact that everything I was doing in that class I was already doing in programming. I was using trigonometry all the time. I think it was just because I wouldn't turn in homework assignments ever. I would only take tests. But you pick up on a lot of that when you're programming. And anyone who says to, like, when is this going to be useful to me? It becomes useful when you're programming. You're gonna be doing that all the time. You're not going to be doing problem solving math. You're not going to be doing like, okay, if train A is leaving at 7:10 and train B, you're not going to be doing anything like that, obviously. You're not going to be doing that kind of math that they insist you'll be problem solving like that, especially because everyone has a smartphone now. No one's going to be doing that. But you will be taking advantage of things like that. You will be using sine, cosine all the time, because you need to factor in angles. Sine wave functions can be very helpful in general. Like if you're trying to make an effect that bobs up and down, or if you're trying to make something that grows larger and shrinks based on the game timer, just get the sine of the game timer. There you go, done. You'll be using that kind of thing all the time. Trigonometry is very, very important when programming, and you'll pick up on a lot of that when you get into it. If you're going to get into game design, I'd just say read a lot of documentation on forums, look at tutorials, look at examples. People post them all the time too. I'd say not even just tutorials, but download like examples of games that people upload them. The Game Maker community, for example, so many useful resources there, so many things to take advantage of. Matt's even been getting into it. Matt's been looking into Game Maker, and he's been picking up on it because there's just so much out there. You just need to kind of sit down and kind of read through community forums, find tutorials, and you'll ease your way into it. I'd say start off small. Use something like Game Maker if you're going to be hopping into it. There's no harm in it. I know a lot of people will tell you, no, start big, do JavaScript, and then go into C++. You're never going to finish an independent project if you're going to be setting your scope like that out the door, especially when you're not familiar with anything to begin with anyways. You want to work your way up to that. But thank you, Brackens, for $10. Thank you, Nomad Boy, for $1. Dear Ding Dong, I remember asking for people who sent a copy of Wild Woody. Does it mean you record the Sega CD now? I saw someone said that they were going to send it in, but they haven't checked the P.O. Box yet. I'm hoping it arrives at the P.O. Box, because... Can someone confirm this for me, by the way? Can someone confirm that the price went up on Wild Woody after we ended up doing the videos on it? Because I remember it being expensive on eBay, but I swear it's just ridiculously overpriced now because we want to go back to it. I hate the used game market so much. But we for sure want to go back to playing it when we get it. Thank you, Gim, for $5, who said, "Come, woo-ha, woo-hoo-ha." Thank you for your $5, Gim, and your funny come. Hot Beef Boy donated $10 and said, "Here's some dollars for the capture card. Mwah, love you." Oh, thank you, Hot Beef Boy. Thank you, Isabel Malham. Donated $8. Have you seen Chris's Kiwi shirt I made him? Oh, you were the one who made that. Yeah, we went to IHOP and Chris was wearing it, and we were wondering where he got it from. I was telling Julian too, because we went to Little Tokyo recently. What's the name of the place? Is it Q-Pop or something? They sell art there, and they had some really cool looking like vinyl statues that people were making. Some Japanese artists did a lot of them. They look really, really cool. But we were just talking, and I thought to myself, like, what if we just make like a physical kiwi? Because it's a really simple design. It's really windy out. I saw the kiwi shirt that Chris had though. It was really cool. I didn't know that was you. Thank you, Isabel Malham. Dank Memes for You donated $5 and said, how long do you think it will be before YouTube dies and content creators like yourself and other members of Oni Game Grumps have to move on to Twitch or another platform? I'd say don't lump us in with that because we're already trying to get to just making video games anyways. Seriously, Let's Playing is not like our main thing. That's not what we're trying to prioritize the hardest. We're trying to do game stuff. We're just doing Let's Play stuff on the side. Same goes for Chris. Chris is doing a lot of his own projects too. It's not the main focus for him. But yeah, Twitch is much better. Anyone who's thinking like I'm gonna hop into how many people want to be like YouTubers or whatever, I'd say, especially with the whole ad boycott, I keep hearing this too. Everyone was telling me who are doing videos like, oh, it's not gonna last forever. I'm sorry, what? It's a boycott. These are major names who have backed out and have no reason to ever come back, especially because a lot of these people were backing out since YouTube became a threat. YouTube TV, all the stuff going on with YouTube, it's starting to compete against a lot of these brands that were advertising to begin with. It's why so many of them are pulling out. Billions of dollars got lost thanks to that. I don't think it's going to be recovering fully as much as everyone's confident about it. So if anyone's hoping to hop in as a YouTuber now, no, go over to Twitch because Twitch cares. Twitch actually gives you all these options so you can support yourself. I mean, the ad revenue that something like Oni Plays makes from a month, for example, we could make from just doing a few streams. It's the lousy bit to that is that you rely on others, though, and I feel bad about that, too. I don't like having to ever fall back on donations, which I'm going to regret seeing that donation counter in a little bit, judging by what the chat is saying. I'm building up to it. I'm just catching up with everything I'm reading. I'm sorry. Thank you, Omp, for 720. I know who that is. I'm giving you your money back. Especially when you type the message, play a Tiny Toons game on Oni, please. I'm on to you. I know who you are. But I do want to actually play the PS2 Tiny Toons game that never came out because it's based on Rakugeki Showtime. And it's actually kind of fun what they made. It's a shame it didn't come out. The title screen is really weird for it, though, because they didn't have voice clips recorded. So Buster and Babs pop out of the logo, and they just both scream really loud. I do want to play that at some point, though. Thank you, Lumbo Bumbo, for $5. That's a good name. Hey, Dying Dag, you're a cool boy. I appreciate having you around. Use this to get capture card. Godhand must be streamed. Keep up the good work. I mean, it's gonna be streamed now. I'm intimidated by what this counter is gonna. Is the counter just broken? Should I see that? Suddenly birds appear. It's just suddenly birds. Donate $25 and said, thank you for streaming. Best of luck to you with Jing Julian. Why'd I say Jing Jong? Julian with games. Also, your top three fave. I'm falling apart. Your top 3 favorite cartoons. Oh no, I don't know. That's actually hard. I don't know. Top 3 favorite cartoons. Oh boy, that's a tricky one. Top 3 favorite cartoons. I'll say this isn't in like a top 10, maybe even. Yeah, it might be top 10. Robot Jones holds up so well, I'm kind of baffled by it. Robot Jones is very, very entertaining, and I could easily go back and watch it a few times over. I'm surprised how good it ended up kind of being. But I could also see a lot of people being bored by it. That's just kind of how I feel with it. Would I say Courage is up there? Courage might be up there. I think Courage has some of the funniest slapstick I've ever seen in a cartoon just because of how exaggerated the art style is and the sound effects that they use and everything. They have that down better than a lot of the examples people will turn to, like, oh, well, the slapstick in Tom and Jerry is hysterical. I think Courage kind of knocks it out of the park in terms of that. I think that's the funniest I've seen that kind of thing happen in a cartoon. What would I say? Did someone donate with my name? I'm only looking at the chat. I'm trying to catch up. I'm sorry. Top 3 favorite cartoons. I don't know. I'm sorry, and I have to actually really think about it. It's a really hard one for me. Clone High is probably up there. I'd say Clone High is probably in the top 3 for sure, because that's also a show that, as much as everyone said I want it to come back really, really bad, I don't ever want to see it come back, because not only would the mindset not be the same anymore and they wouldn't be as funny if they brought it back, but also Clone High existed within a specific window that it made sense for it existing, and there isn't really teen soap opera kind of shows going anymore. I guess Degrassi might still be going. Point is, it existed and was very much a thing at the time, and I don't think it'd work anymore. And then on top of that, a lot of the concepts that they introduced in Clone High only are kind of relevant for that first season and wouldn't be funny if they repeated them again. I don't think that if they kept doing a Snowflake Day special every single year, I don't think that would be funny. I think it was funny as a one-time thing. It's a good show. I don't know what else I could think of, though. I'll compile a list later. Thank you, who Suddenly Birds for the 25. Kid the OG donated 5 and said, "You're a neat dude. Here's some change." Thank you, KHE the OG. RP Dizzle 05 donated 10 and said, "Holla holla, here is some dollar." Thank you, RP Dizzle. All these hip hop boys coming in. Thank you, Knock Beant, for $10 saying, "You're a good boy, Ding Dang. Make sure you get a good capture thing. Heart you lots." Thank you, Knock Beant, for $10. Ding Dad donated $10, said, "Thank you for stoic video game wisdom. Hope you managed to capture some real footage there with capture card. Ho ha ha." I think I owe it to everyone. I'm gonna do a God Hand stream once we get a capture device. I will be very happy to do that, because I could probably sit down with God Hand for an entire day and never get bored of it. Anonymous donated $2 and said the same thing from earlier. What's with you and potbelly lizards? What does that mean? What do you mean? What is that with me? Is that a thing for me? It was one thing I posted. That's not a running theme. That's one thing. That's one thing. I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have posted that to begin with, but I thought it'd make interesting conversation. It's a frog. It's not even a lizard. It's an amphibian. Yoshi. I don't like Yoshi. Yoshi sucks. I don't even like Yoshi. So that doesn't count. You found your Gex fan art. I never drew Gex fan art. I never drew Gex fan art. I did have Gex on my memory card, though. I remember that. You know it's going to be a probably. I guess that's what I get for it putting that out there. I saw somebody drew porn of that was weird. Someone drew porn of the little alien avatar that we have for Oni plays that I'm using. Someone drew porn of that recently. That was kind of strange. I think it's stranger to me because I put out there what I said one of my crushes was, and that could have been so much worse. They kept it pretty tame. I think people have done it with Julian too. They drew Julian's avatar. Anyways, I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know, Anonymous. I don't know what my deal is with potbelly lizards because I can only think of one. So I don't think it's a thing. I think it's a one-time situation. Okay, next one. Where was I? You could have been with a potbelly lizard. They don't exist in real life. No. Where is it? Kagnu donated $10 and said, just keep making content following your passion. I'll do the same. Love you, boys. Thank you. Well, Phil Elverm, shut up. Don't say stuff like that. Okay. Scabadoodle, why? Why, Scabadoodle, why? Scabadoodle donated another $200 and said to continue from my last one. Julian's helped me as a cartoonist, convincing me to get off my ass and stop feeling sorry for myself. You came at the right time. Scabadoodle, you didn't have to donate another $200. Oh my god, Scabadoodle. That's $400, Scabadoodle. You didn't... Is it Scabadoodle? Is it Scabadoodle? I want to say it right. Oh my god. Scabadoodle, $400 overall. Scabadoodle, why'd you do this? Scabadoodle, if you can send me a message on Twitter, like a DM, or send one on Twitch, because Twitch is better for that. If you can send me a message, Julian could draw something for you. That's a lot. And that too, Brackens, Julian actually has been catching up on art stuff today. So you should have your banner graphic he was working on finished soon. Oh my god, Scabadoodle, thank you. You didn't have to do that! You didn't have to do that. Kim Reaper donated $10 and said, I don't have much, but I made an account to donate to... You didn't have to do that either. You didn't have to make an account for that. Kim Reaper, $10. Oh my god, Mandolin, $150. What are you people doing? Mandolin donated $150, said, you boys keep doing you. Don't change for dumbass trolls. Get lots of curry and get a new editor. Hey. Okay, hey now. Hey now. That's out of line. But thank you for the $150, Mandolin. Keegan McFly donated $1, said, talk about the best gamers. I already did. And I'm pretty sure I said everything I needed to say when I did the 4chan thread a while back. There isn't really nothing really happened. Everyone's, for the most part, still friends. Only 2 people from that group aren't friends anymore. And for anyone who feels like there's some deep conspiracy, keep in mind how they're not in contact with anyone from that group anymore, as if they had burned the bridges on their own. Not to mention they keep coming back trying to start fights. It's almost as if they're just people who are bitter and start fights all the time. That's all there is really to it. Everyone's still friends. It was just kind of the thing being done during free time. I mean, we were streaming weekly last year. That only kind of ended around the summertime. So if people are able to free up time again, we might even go back to doing that again. It's never been like a big thing. It was never like an official thing that we all had to sit down for. It's why videos ended up being like every year. There's no real pressure for it. And I would assume too people should recognize that going to an image board outside of that because I actually was posting in that thread and I was answering everything, but when it's the same two or three people posting things over and over again, it's probably not reliable. You can just ask for like directly from the source if that kind of thing is accurate or not. It's no. A lot of that was just fabricate. I'm sorry, I'm all shaky now because of all these donations. I'm sorry. A lot of that isn't really anything. The chat logs that keep getting posted, no, that was when they were doing the old site Loud House. They had a forum community there, and that's weird too. Only Plays was kind of strange because when we weren't that big, when we were just kind of in the middle point, when it was less than 200,000 subs, people were pretty good. People were pretty good in the comments. It was a good kind of fan base around it. But I remember back then when I started editing stuff for the Best Gamers around like 2012 and hearing everything, it was like, okay, what is with the people following this? Because it's a channel that has almost no one following it, yet these people are so crazy. Because they had people trying to do the same thing, trying to find their addresses and photos and everything. They had people just making fake posts everywhere. It was weird. I expect it now from Oni Plays. I expect it at this point. But I don't know why that had it. That had such a small following. But like I was saying, it wasn't that interesting. There wasn't much to it. People made it seem more interesting than it really was. And everyone, for the most part, is still friends anyways. So it's not like anything really fell through either. It's just people don't really have free time anymore. There's only 2 people who kind of fell out. And it's because on their own they decided to kind of get up and burn bridges with everybody. So everyone else is still friends. So that's kind of all there is to the Best Gamer situation. I talked about it in the thread too, if people can go find that, but there you go. Thank you, Keegan McFly. Butch Cat donated $100 and said break the counter. Is the counter broken? The counter is broken. It says $1. How many times did it cycle through? Did it just cycle through? It says $1. Oh my god. I don't know how much I have then. You guys broke the counter. Oh my god. Thank you, Butch Cat, for $100. I'm gonna guess you're the one who broke the counter. Thank you. Thank you, Artificial Ignorance, for $5 saying more money again. My god. I need to reprogram this thing to go beyond $1,000. Or what I should do is I should script it that it like starts steaming up when it's around $900 and the whole thing just cracks and shatters if it exceeds 1,000. Because then at least people probably wouldn't be donating anymore if it broke 1,000. I don't think people should keep donating if it breaks 1,000. Oh my god. Thank you, Heartless4207, for 420 saying, love all 3 of you guys. Keep doing awesome things. Thank you, Heartless4207. Thank you. I guess someone donated with my name. Ding Dong for $5. Whoever typed my name in. Hello, it is I. I have big monkey statue for Christopher, but it is big. My question is for you. If you were me, I am young and I don't know what makes a game good or bad like Sonic. It sounds dumb, but it genuinely confused me. Help? What? I don't even know what that message means. I'm assuming that's supposed to be a jab at me. I don't even know what that meant, though. Thank you for $5. Thank you to Curly Fro for $7.50 saying me and Julian share the same name. So every time you say his name, I feel like you're talking to me, even though you're not. But a man can wet dream. That's gross. But thank you, Curly Fro. Julian. Thank you, Mucha Bin from Mucha Lucha. You donated $20. You said, I drained my savings to fix my car, but you make me smile. You don't need to throw that money if you don't have much. I should put rules up for donating. If you're an artist and you actually have like projects you want to do, please don't donate money. I'd rather see you do the projects that you want to work on. There's a lot of artists that I follow who sometimes donate, and I don't like that they do it because I just want to give them the money back. I'd rather see them do things. And if you're in a tight spot with money, please, you shouldn't donate. You should use that money for yourself. But thank you, Mucha Lucha, BN. Thank you, Suddenly Birds again. They said 5 more buckaroos for you. Thank you, Suddenly Birds. I like that name. The Rick Tickle donated $1 and said, hey, found out about you and Sexy Mustache Mexican because of Oni Plays. Thank you, the Rick Tickle. Thank you, Dequanicus. That's a good name. Dequanicus. For $10, they said, my daughter's life-saving surgery can wait. Oh, come on. That's not even a good joke. Don't say that. That would actually make me feel bad if someone did something like that. Keep laying down the dulcet tones on Oni Plays. That's one way of putting it. Loving discussion. Play Fable TLC and make comparisons between the voice actors and Chris's Irishness. I skimmed that and saw TLC and hoping it was going to be a discussion about TLC. But thank you. Dequanicus. H2Oso donated $10. Everyone has good names. Go get a jerk chicken plate at Cha Cha Chicken in Santa Monica. That actually sounds pretty good. Santa Monica is a while away though. But thank you to H2Oso for $10. Steve Scribbles for $5. Have you ever considered Twitch partnership? I want to do it. I just feel like they're going to decline it. Because even when I had... What was it before? I remember even having a following before. We streamed every single week. We exceeded the number of viewers they wanted. Everything. And we'd have Chris, Zach, Corey, everybody would come on all the time. I remember filing for it. They declined it. I remember Mick filed for a partnership. They declined it. So... I feel like even if I applied now, they'd probably still decline a partnership. I thought 5,000 would be enough, but Mick had 5,000 and he got declined, so I don't know. I should try. I do want to get partnership just because it means I can offer like emoticons and everything. And I could try setting up some stuff too, because the donation counter, I don't know if people know this, but the layout that we have, Julian and I worked on the graphic design aspect of it, and then I ended up coding everything with it. So the messages that come through, the whole sidebar system with the names that pop up with the symbol that represents that they followed or donated, all of that. So the scroller on the right side of the screen, the donation counter system, all of that, I coded on my own. I was thinking of coming up with new things to code into the stream, so like if people type things in the chat, it could do stuff to interact with it. Or like if people donated with a certain name, it could do things. I was thinking of setting up more stuff in the future, so I'll start writing down ideas for that, especially if it gets partnered. Thank you, Steve Scribbles, for $5. Sandra... No, Sandra, don't! Sandra donated $5 and said, not much, but here you go. Sandra, you keep that! You keep that! Sandra. Oh, Sandra, we gotta watch more Fat Albert sometime, because Julian and I got a PS3. Chris was saying earlier in the week he wanted to do something like that. We've been moving stuff around, but we'd like to do something like that again with everybody, because that was fun, and now we actually have like a TV and everything, so it'd be a lot easier to watch Bill Cosby pretend to be educational and act very uncomfortable when certain subject material comes up in his children's show. Thank you. Yeah, you shouldn't be donating $5. That's just gonna go towards a pizza that we'll order if everyone comes by for like a movie night or something. Thank you, Real Keegan McFly, for $5. That other Keegan McFly who donated 101 was fake. His real identity was Cool Printer of the Energetic series. He's a real loser. Have $5. What's with everybody impersonating each other? Who's who anymore in these crazy, trying times? Thank you, Julian from Oni Plays, for $1 with the message, I'm breaking up with you. Something tells me that's not a real message anyways. Thank you, Lint, for $20, saying, love you, man. Hope you feel better. You got me hooked on tofu curry. Oh, tofu curry sounds really good. Tofu curry sounds really good. Oh. We just had it recently. Oh, well. Sopping... Oh, that's disgusting. Sopping Mario diaper. Ugh. That's a word that doesn't get used very often. Donated $5. Hello, I am the YouTube commenter that made you go, haha. Yes, you are laughing. I do know this. Now, since you know who I am, it's time. Goodbye, my friend. See you in the blackness. What does that mean? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for $5. Hokey donated $30 and said, here you go, Chief. I'm looking forward to what Wan Wan produces. Good luck with everything. I'm excited at least for Bippy because I know I get to challenge myself more with programming on that one. Trick or Treat, I'm really torn up on it because I'm happy. I'm glad we get to do it. I wanted to make an arcade shooter like that. Julian's having a lot of fun with the art. I wanted to make a game like that anyways. I really like what we're doing with it, but I just feel like it's not going to be enough. It's going to just disappoint people. But I can at least promise after that we're going to be doing much more work with every game that follows. It was meant to be a small project we're starting on. But thank you. Thank you, Anonymous, for $1. Thank you, Admiral Sexington, for $5, saying, do it, get partnered. I could file. John Tron Show donated $1. I'm pretty sure that's not John. Parkin donated $10, saying, you and Julian are constantly keeping me inspired. Thank you for the goofs and gaffs. That's H3H3. Keep doing your thing. I'm sad I can't say goof anymore because of that. I remember we were streaming Grand Theft Auto way back, and I made a character called the Goofster, and then like a few months later, H3H3, you keep hearing Goofster and Gaffster being said ad nauseum, and it's like, okay, I can't ever use this again. I can't say Sody either. I used to say Sody all the time prior to that. I can't say Sody anymore. I don't like having to phase things out of my vocabulary just because of things like that. I've been trying to hold back on saying a lot of other things too. We don't say brown bricks anymore, really. We don't say funny scream. I'm not going to be saving the stream anyways because it fell apart so horribly to whoever said that. I also, if someone, because I said that, feels inclined to record it, I would heavily, I don't really want this one recorded just because I feel like this was a train wreck of a stream. So I'd say please don't. There will be a God Hand stream now after this though, because everyone has helped so much. I can't believe all these people have been donating so much. Thank you, Parkin, for $10. Thank you, Mega Mike 93 for $10, who said, "Watch through the DS playthrough to get through to get through work. So glad you and Julian joined. I can always depend on your dickler ticklers to pull me back out of the dregs." Dickler ticklers. That's we watched Showgirls with Chris, and I think Chris said that's one of his least favorite movies of all time after watching it, but I remember that's the one line is, "Did she tickle your pickle?" And it's said with sincerity. What else is there? That movie has so many good lines. Do you like having big tits? What's the one guy? She says, "I can touch you, but you can't touch me." And then he goes, "Oh, I know where you can touch me." It's like, what? Yeah, I think we all do. There's only one place. What is that supposed to? It's not innuendo of any sort. AIDS and shit. That's a classical line. What a movie. Someone took the time to draw what? Am I gonna regret clicking on this? Oh, these are the ones that Julian showed me. I already saw these. Oh no, that's the one I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I saw somebody did that recently. Like I said, that could have been way worse because I put out there what my first crush was, and I'm glad nobody acted on that. Although apparently everyone's saying that's a fascination of mine when it's one character. Anyways, mucho bien. Oh, like mucho bien. I get it. $80. What? Oh, just checked and my paycheck came. Disregard my last message. Keep up the good work. No, don't. You guys broke the donation counter already. Stop it. I'm actually being serious now. Stop. I don't like, especially because I don't know how much it's at now. You guys can stop. Just ask stuff in the chat. If you have questions, just ask it in the chat. Thank you, Mega Mike 93 for $10. Sorry about the last donation. If there's a problem with it, recently had to get a new card for security reasons. Just updated PayPal. Oh, is it gonna do one of those things where I have a dispute on PayPal? Because I've had that happen a couple times. I hate that ends up happening. I've had people. By the way, because now that I've called it to attention, it's gonna happen. But yeah, that's the common haha, is that you file a dispute for a donation you made on your own, just to annoy people. Thank you, Cool Gamma 10 OG Weed Puff. That's quite the funny name. Donate $5 and said, please say sopping on Oni Plays. Okay, what a request. Thank you, Liquid Lad, for $1, saying, hello, Liquid Lad. Okay, thank you. Eathan Cartoons. Is it like Ethan or Eathan? Donated $2 and said, it's me, Eathan. Use this money to buy some chips. Also, what's your favorite episode of Fairly Odd Parents? I love that show. I haven't watched it since I was... It hasn't been that long, has it? Oh no, it's 2017, isn't it? Ooh... 15 years, probably. I haven't watched it in like 15 years. Ooh-wee. Holy moly. Sorry, I don't remember anything about it. I can't believe it's still going, I'll say that much. That's weird to me. Thank you for $2 though. Thank you, Anonymous, for $1. Oh my god. It says fat reptiles. Yes. Okay. Is this the new? Is this it? Is this a new meme? Is this a new joke? Is this a new funny? Oh, and there's a new one. Alex's Trucking Company donated $1. How would you react if you woke up one day and the Tom and Jerry intro music played and you walked out into your living room and saw a mouse-sized Julian running away from a cat-sized Chris who's trying to smash him with a mallet? Okay, first problem with this hypothetical. Tom is not cat-sized. He's larger than a normal cat typically is. And his size is also very inconsistent depending on cartoons. Sometimes he's about the size of a person. Also, if he was actually cat-sized and Julian actually was mouse-sized, not cartoon proportions, like actual sizes, I probably wouldn't even recognize it's Julian because he'd be too small for me to make out anything. If I could fully recognize it was the two of them, I'd pick up Julian and take him away from Chris. I don't want Chris hurting him. That's it. Mega Mike donate $93. That's incorrect. Let me try that again. Mega Mike 93 donated $5, and he said, "Just looked into it. Donations will all pull from direct from my bank account. Sorry about the mix-up. Love you all, pickle boys. What's the last dream you remember? I haven't been able to remember mine for a decade or so." It's really weird because the last dream I had was specifically about a person who I've never interacted with and was then posting a video online getting really mad about something Julian said and then attributing it to me saying it. Which is a very weird dream because that's already what kind of happens anyways. But what happened the next day is that we heard that that person was potentially going to drop by, and it was like, wait, what? And it was strange to me because it's like, I don't believe in that kind of thing, but it's weird how someone who never enters your head at any point at all because you don't even know them that well suddenly enters your head in a detailed dream like that, and then you wake up, and that like a little bit sort of factors into your day. But that was it. Also, thank you, PJ Glashin, for $1. He said, "You've never wronged me." I think that's my favorite message I've read so far. It's very appropriate to say when donating. Thank you, Butch Cat. Oh my God, Butch Cat, stop! $50. You should totes buy an entire new setup for streaming. This money could be better used, though. I want to give it back to a lot of people who've been donating, too, because so many artists are donating, and I don't like that they're donating because they could be supporting their own projects that they want to do. But thank you, Butch Cat, for $50. Bing Bong donated $1. Greetings, I am you from Beavers. If you're receiving this message, that means you are the sole survivor. Thank you. Real Ego Raptor donated $1. Pretty sure that's not Aaron. Beaver Stink followed. That's a gross name. Yeah, let me see how much it's actually up to because the donation counter broke. Can I refresh it, maybe? How do I get to all of this? Okay, let me see. That's not it. What the heck is it? No way. That can't be. That can't be. I'm stopping the stream immediately if that's the case. That can't be. Where is it? Donation counter. What does it say? What does this file say? Where'd it go? Donation counter. That's not it. Where's the donation counter file? Okay, thank God. It's not as bad as I thought it was. It's still bad, though. It's at 1,600! What is with you people? Oh my God. Okay, let's catch back up. Anonymous donated $1 and said, sorry, fat amphibian. Yeah, thank you. You got it right. There you go. Yes, okay. Dimwitty donated $1. If you want emotes, try Frankerface Z. It's an add-on. I don't like the idea of that because it means other people have to use add-ons, and I'm not gonna. I'd rather it just be there for people. Bling Blong donated $1 and said, "Bling Blong." Oh my God! Stop it! Utin Bon donated $10 and said, "Is this the summer stream? What is it with you and?" Oh my God! Stop bringing up the first crush image. Jesus Christ! I'll bring up. God damn it. I'll do a Q&A thing somewhere else about that if people are gonna keep asking about it. I feel embarrassed now because it was. I handled it in a very casual manner because I didn't weigh importance on it. I don't think it matters. Everyone seems to be caring much more about it than I do. But I will. I'll post something about that somewhere else. It's not appropriate. Okay. Whoop donated $5 and said, "Here's some money for the good boys. Are you going to finish Banjo on stream someday?" I'd like to. I'd like to go back. We're actually potentially going to play... Imp said people have similar taste while obsessed over seeking validation. Believe me, no one has similar taste on that one. I'm pretty sure I'm alone there. Anyways, Banjo we'd like to go back to. I don't think I want to stream it, though. I'd like to do it for Only Plays. I don't think Chris would want to play it, though. But we could easily finish that game. So, we'll see if we can go and play it eventually. Wait, was it not a joke? No, it wasn't a joke. I said it wasn't a joke. I said it wasn't a joke. I'm glad people assumed it was a joke because it seems like it's a joke. It's why I answered it in a very calm manner because I don't think it really matters. And on top of that, I think it's at least like a good story just because of how strange it is. But let's see. Yeah, Banjo we'll try to play on Only Plays soon, I hope. Thank you. Nathan Prince donated $1 and said, "How do you find a love for something you've lost interest in? For me, it's art. I really want to like drawing again." Now see, that's different. Games I've actually started really appreciating again only because I've been going back and playing so many old ones that I haven't played in the longest time that I'm remembering how good they were. God Hand was a big one. God Hand, I already forgot it was one of my favorite games. I hadn't played it since probably 2009? I haven't played it in ages. So going back and playing it again, it felt fucking incredible. I forgot how good God Hand is. It's amazing. It's such a good game. And stuff like that, that really brought me back into going, you know what? Games are actually pretty fun, aren't they? So, With drawing though, I don't know what because that's different. That's on you. That's personally doing something like that. And it's very easy to lose motivation constantly when you're sticking to it too much. All I can really say is try switching it up, mix it up, because if I ever get demotivated working on game stuff, I usually just kind of go and mess around with something small off to the side or chip away at a different project, then come back the next day and I feel refreshed. You just have to push on yourself is the thing too. You have to pressure yourself and stay focused. That girl with the pink hat may have been my first what girl with the pink hat? I wasn't meaning to cause offense at all. Oh, I'm not. I'm not offended. Just curious why I got so much traction from one or two tweets. Because it's weird, I guess. What's your opinion on Virtua Fighter 5? I need to play it again. I liked it a lot when I played it, and I liked how technical it was, but I haven't played it since like it first came out. It's kind of sad that faded away. Virtua Fighter 5 was at EVO for like just a couple years. It was actually a pretty cool game. There's so many donations I have to catch up with now. DingDongVG donated $1. Come visit Skull Island. No thanks. Utentagin donated $1 and said, I made Scrimmy Bingus. Did you? Did you actually make that image? Scrimmy Bingus is kind of sad to me because I think the PS1 cover, the photo of a guy holding up a PS1 game with that on the cover, I think that's actually really funny. All the stuff they came up with, Crungy Spingus, and that's by Krogus. I think all that's actually pretty funny. But then when I saw the video of like what they mocked up the game to look like, it destroys the comedy of it immediately. It kind of throws it into the ground. I also don't like the idea that the Crungy Spingus is a kid. I like the idea that it's some like weird monster or something. And you have no idea what the game's about. It's just it's a cover with a kid putting his arms in the air. It's a stock photo. That's why it was funny. I like the cover of it. Schmorky. What about him? Was that a Schmorky thing? I don't know actually the history of it. I just remember seeing the little bits of it. Opinions on Dead or Alive or how it effectively killed Virtua Fighter. Did it kill Virtua Fighter? Because that's kind of funny to me. I remember Virtua Fighter 5 being better than the Dead or Alive games I played. And it's also that Dead or Alive is so funny to watch when people try to play it competitively because they have to set all these rules and regulations to turn off every single costume so they can be taken seriously. Whoop donated $5. Here's some money for you good boys. Are you gonna? Oh, I read that one already. Utenbon donated 10 and said, "What is it with you and tubas?" Okay, that's. Oh, I read that one too. Which ones have I read? King Kong VG I read. Utentagen $1 I read. Artificial Ignorance 15. I think that's where I left off. Last time I'm donating for the stream, all the stuff you do. Why do people donate so much anyways? Keep up the amazing work you do. Thank you, Artificial Ignorance. You didn't have to throw so much money down. Thank you, Heartless4207, $1. Said, have a boy. Have a boy is kind of weird. That was in one video. I'm surprised that it came up so much. Skipuku donated $3 and said, "Hey there, me again. I was the first one to donate this stream. Yeah, I'm that guy. Love you. You deserve it." Oh. Maggie donated $10. Maggie Simpson? Maggie donated $10 and said, I watch you doofs every day on my break. Your videos mean world to me. Sending lots of love from Wisconsin. I used to live near Wisconsin. I remember, oh my god. Oh, I remember going to a lot of places in Wisconsin just because they'd always offer sharp cheddar to put on French fries because it's the cheese state, and it was always really, really good.